He knows this world by heart. Every flag, every hidden dialogue, every ending. He's written 237 posts about this game, and now he's inside it. In the body of a character even the fans don't remember. A character who has exactly one scene left to live. Cold marble presses against his cheek. Aiden opens his eyes and stares at the page of the textbook. The letters are foreign. The language is unfamiliar. But he understands every word. Paragraph 17. Rules for bowing when meeting a member of the royal family. He tears his eyes away from the page and tilts his head back. Above him is a fresco. A woman in white holds a lily, a stained glass window depicting Saint Elmira. Scene 1, take 3. Their first meeting in the library. His heart is pounding against his ribs. He's seen this fresco hundreds of times, in screenshots, on the cover of the guide he wrote himself 3 years ago. He lowers his gaze to his hands. Slender, white, an ink stain on a finger. These aren't his hands. These are Baron Graves's hands. A third-rate nobleman with 3 lines on his wiki page and not a single sprite showing his face. Aiden clenches the stranger's fingers, unclenches them. His body obeys. The marble is real. The pain in his neck is real. He stands up and nearly falls. His legs give way. In his past life, he used to haul crates of coffee beans up to the 3rd floor without breaking a sweat. Now he's reeling just from standing up. He grabs the table and looks around. The library stretches 10 meters upward. The bookshelves are lost in the shadows. Light streams through the stained glass windows in colorful patches. It's impossibly beautiful and utterly familiar. The Royal Academy for Noble Young Ladies, Australia. The world of the Otome game he'd been playing for 5 years. And here he is, standing inside it in the body of a character not even the fans remember. Right. Panic can come later. First, the facts. If this is Scene 1, Act 3, that means it's the first day of the season of the White Lilies. Morning. In 4 minutes, Lily Ashcroft will walk in here. The heroine, the Count's daughter, the White Radiance. She'll trip over the curled edge of the carpet by the 3rd bookshelf. She'll fall. And at that very moment, Prince Kalen will step out from behind the bookshelf. He'll catch her. Their eyes will meet. Romance meter, +10. And Baron Graves will mutter something in the background. He'll catch the prince's cold gaze. And he'll disappear. Forever. Literally. After that scene, he's not in a single chapter. Not a single line of dialogue. Not a single ending. He simply ceases to exist. Aiden looks at his hands once more. No, not today. He leans toward the 3rd bookshelf. The carpet is dark burgundy. The edge is curled up, just as he knew it would be. Aiden straightens the fabric. He smooths out the crease with his palm. The corner lies flat. The trap is gone. Today, Lily won't fall. And she won't meet her prince as she was supposed to. He straightens up and senses something strange. Something is shifting. Not in the room. Deeper, as if a huge mechanism had missed a gear. He doesn't have time to finish the thought. An elderly woman is sitting behind the counter by the entrance. Her hair is pulled back in a gray bun. Her glasses rest on the tip of her nose. She's rearranging books and winces every time she moves her right hand. She surreptitiously massages her wrist when she thinks no one is watching. Aiden knows who she is, or rather, he knows she doesn't exist in the game. A background sprite. No lines, just a prop. But right now, standing before him is a living person with a sore wrist and a name tag he couldn't make out in the game. Lady Martha, head librarian. Aiden approaches. She casts an indifferent glance at him over her glasses. To her, he's just another student. Aiden takes his handkerchief from the table. He walks over to the decanter. He dips the handkerchief in the water. He returns and silently places the wet handkerchief next to her hand. She looks at the handkerchief, then at him. Aiden speaks softly. Arthritis. Apply something cold, then massage the spot at the base of your thumb. It'll ease the pain for an hour. My grandmother used to do this every morning. Lady Martha freezes. She looks at him as if he'd spoken in a language she didn't understand. Then she takes the handkerchief and presses it against her wrist. Her fingers are trembling. She opens her mouth but says nothing, and in her eyes, Aiden sees something that makes him feel uneasy. She isn't surprised that someone helped her. She's surprised that someone noticed her. Aiden sits down on a chair next to her. He asks how she brews chamomile tea. She doesn't answer right away. Cautiously, as if checking to see if he's joking. A minute later, she's already talking about her sister, who sends dried chamomile from the countryside, about how the city variety tastes bitter, about how it should be brewed in a clay teapot, not a porcelain one. Aiden listens. He really is listening. 5 years behind the barista counter have taught him to hear what lies behind the words. Lady Martha is talking about chamomile. But what she's really saying is, I'm 63, I've been working here for 40 years, and not once has anyone sat down next to me and asked how I am. At that moment, the door opens. A young woman walks in. Shoulder-length blonde hair, a blue uniform. She takes 3 steps and freezes by the 3rd bookshelf. The carpet lies flat. She walks on, past that very spot. She doesn't stumble. No one catches her. The prince isn't here yet. The scene is already broken. Lily hears voices at the counter. She turns her head and sees something strange. A skinny student in a rumpled uniform is sitting on the floor next to the head librarian. An elderly woman is telling him something. A wet handkerchief is tied around her wrist. The student nods and smiles, not broadly, just quietly, like someone who's genuinely interested. Lily stops. She doesn't understand why. She's seen thousands of bows, thousands of smiles calculated down to the millimeter. But she's never seen a nobleman sitting on the floor next to a librarian and talking to her as an equal. Aiden catches her out of the corner of his eye, and a control panel pops up in her head. Main character, romance flag, 0. Meeting status, off the record. Warning, plot corrupted. Stay calm. Don't look at her. Don't start a conversation. You're the background. You're a prop. Sit there and talk about daisies. He continues the conversation. Lily stands there for 3 more seconds. Then she walks away. But she looks back twice. A minute later, Prince Kalen enters. Golden hair, a golden glow even when he's still. He scans the library with a searching gaze. He's here to catch Lily as she falls. But Lily isn't falling. She's flipping through a book by the bookshelf. The prince approaches. He strikes up a conversation. She responds politely. But there's no tremor in her voice that should have been there. No gratitude for a rescue that never happened. She speaks to him as she would to anyone else. The prince senses that something is wrong. He turns and sees Baron Graves on the floor by the counter. Their eyes meet for a second. Aiden looks away first, just as befits a third-rate baron. The prince loses interest in him instantly. The gray radiance, a nobody. He follows Lily out. Aiden exhales. Lady Martha speaks softly. "Young man, you're strange." Aiden replies that it's the best compliment he's received all day. And she smiles for the first time. Barely noticeable, but she smiles. Aiden stands up. He brushes off his uniform. He needs to figure out 3 things: where his room is, what day it is according to the game calendar, and where to get coffee beans in this town. Because if he's stuck in an Otome game in the body of a man who was about to be erased, he needs a plan. And any good plan starts with a cup of coffee. He steps out into a long corridor with arched windows. Light falls in streaks across the stone. A harpsichord is playing somewhere. It smells of lavender and fresh bread. It's a beautiful world. A foreign world. A world that believes Baron Graves doesn't belong here. Aiden walks, counting his steps. The boys' dormitory in the West Wing, 3rd floor. He finds a door with a nameplate. Graves. Inside is a room the size of a storage closet. A bed, a desk, a chair, a closet. On the table, an inkwell and 3 quills. In the closet, 2 changes of uniform and 1 pair of dress shoes. A coat hook. No coat. That's the whole world of Baron Graves. Aiden sits down on the bed. It creaks. He stares at the ceiling and counts. The season of the white lilies lasts 3 months. During that time, 32 key scenes will take place. The prince is in every one. Baron Graves is in none. The perfect position. The task is simple. Stay out of the plot. Get through 3 months. Get his degree. Move to a provincial estate. Open a quiet coffee shop. Live. Just live. Don't save the world. Don't make princesses fall in love with me. Just brew coffee and don't disappear. Aiden lies down and closes his eyes. Tomorrow he'll find the port. He'll find sailors. He'll buy coffee beans. And he'll start living all over again. One last thought flashes through his mind before he falls asleep. 3 minutes ago, Lily Ashcroft turned around and looked at him. Not at the prince. At him.
That wasn't in any of the itineraries. Not in any of the guidebooks.
Aiden pulls the blanket up to his chin and speaks into the darkness. No, don't. Go to the prince. He has a golden radiance and a happy end. I have a gray radiance and 3 lines on the wiki. The darkness doesn't answer. Somewhere down below, under the floor, something rustles. Quietly, almost inaudibly, as if someone were stirring in their sleep. The morning begins with a bell. A low rumble travels through the walls and makes the window pane tremble. Aiden opens his eyes. The same ceiling, the same room, the same bed. Not a dream. He sits up in bed and runs his hands over his face. His skin is smooth, young. He's 17. Yesterday he was 26, and he'd fallen asleep at the wheel after a double shift. Now he's 17, a baron with no money, no connections, and no future in a world that considers him trash. But he has knowledge. And this morning, that knowledge tells him the following. Today is the 2nd day of the season. According to the game's script, Prince Keelan invites all the students to morning tea at the Rose Pavilion. That's where Scene 2, Act 1 takes place.
The prince gives a welcome speech. Lily drops her cup. The prince hands her a new one. Romance flag up by 5. Standard mechanics. Aiden doesn't need to go there. Baron Graves isn't involved in this scene. He's not on the guest list. He's not on any list at all. Perfect. Instead of the pavilion, Aiden heads to the harbor. The walk takes 40 minutes through the lower city. The academy stands on a hill. The harbor is below. Between them are narrow cobblestone streets, shops, bakeries, laundromats, the smell of fish and smoke. People here don't wear uniforms. They wear work clothes and look at his academic uniform with indifference. To them, all nobles look the same. Aiden finds the harbor market. Long rows under awnings, spices, fabrics, tools. He's looking for a specific item and finds it at the 3rd pier. Sacks, brown, smelling of something bitter and warm. A sailor sits on an upside-down bucket, mending a net. Next to him lie 4 sacks marked with the name of the Southern Islands. Coffee beans. Aiden approaches. He asks the price. The sailor looks up at him from below. He names the price. 3 silver coins per sack. For an aristocrat, that's pocket change. For Baron Graves, whose monthly budget is 5 silver coins, that's almost everything. Aiden haggles. Not like an aristocrat, like a barista who spent 5 years sourcing beans for a small coffee shop in Seoul. He feels the beans through the sack's fabric, sniffs them. He says the batch is stale, that the oil on the surface has already dried up, that at least 1/3 of the aroma has faded. The sailor looks at him in surprise, then with respect. They agree on 1.5 silver coins per sack. Aiden buys 2 sacks. That's 3 silver coins, more than half his budget. There's almost nothing left for food, but he has the beans. He hauls the sacks on his back to the academy. Baron Graves's body is weak. By the middle of the climb, Aiden stops 4 times to catch his breath. The sacks are heavy. His back aches. His legs are shaking, but he carries on. Because coffee isn't a luxury. Coffee is a tool. Coffee is a weapon. The only weapon he has. At the academy, he bypasses the main entrance. He walks through the service courtyard, past the kitchen, past the laundry room, past the stables.
No one pays him any attention. The servants see his rumpled uniform and the bags.
They mistake him for a messenger. Good. Just yesterday, Aiden recalled something from his knowledge of the game. In the east wing of the academy, there's an abandoned room. It used to be the office of the music teacher who quit 12 years ago. The room was locked up and forgotten. In the game, it exists as an invisible part of the background. No character ever goes in there. The door isn't locked. The lock is rusted and doesn't work. Aiden pushes the door open with his shoulder. It swings open with a quiet creak. Inside, it's dusty. An old harpsichord stands against the wall, covered with a cloth. A table. 2 chairs. A shelf with sheet music that's already yellowed. The window overlooks the inner courtyard. It's small, but the light coming through it is nice. Aiden sets the bags in the corner. He looks around the room. This will be his space, his private study, his coffee shop inside the academy. The question of the coffee grinder remains. He remembers. There's a spice grinder in the academy's kitchen. An old hand-cranked one with iron millstones. It sits on the bottom shelf, and no one uses it because the cooks prefer a mortar and pestle. If he modifies the mechanism a bit, he can grind coffee. Not perfect, but it'll be enough for the first cup. Aiden heads to the kitchen. It's lunchtime. Everyone is in the dining hall. The kitchen is almost empty. He finds the grinder on the bottom shelf. It's heavy, cast iron. He tucks it under his uniform and carries it out. No one notices. On his way back to his office, he bumps into someone in the hallway. Literally, his shoulder bumps into a tray. The tray flies to the floor, the clatter of dishes, shards of porcelain scatter across the stone floor. Standing before him is a girl in a maid's uniform. She's on her knees, gathering the shards. Her hands are shaking. Her face is pale. She mutters to herself, "This set is worth more than she'll earn in 2 months. She'll be punished. It'll be deducted from her pay, or she'll be fired." Aiden kneels down beside her and begins gathering the shards. The girl flinches. She looks up. She looks at his uniform, an academic uniform, a nobleman. She expects a shout, or an insult, or a contemptuous silence. Aiden speaks calmly. It's his fault. He wasn't watching where he was going. He'll gather everything up and take it to the kitchen. The set can be glued back together. 3 cups. He can already see that the cracks are even. Fine porcelain shatters cleanly. The girl looks at him, not understanding what's happening. The nobleman is on his knees, gathering the shards for her. This doesn't happen. Aiden picks up the last shard. He places everything on a tray. He stands up. He offers her his hand to help her up. She takes his hand after a moment's hesitation. Her palm is rough. She has calluses on every finger. Aiden asks her name. She answers quietly, "Yuna." Aiden nods. He says he'll remember. Yuna watches him walk away down the hallway with the mill under his arm. She stands there for another minute. Because in 8 years of working at the academy, not a single nobleman has ever asked her name. Not a single one. Aiden returns to his office. He sets the grinder on the table. He takes apart the mechanism. The burrs are too coarse for coffee. They need to be ground down. He searches the room for something abrasive. He finds a piece of pumice on the windowsill. Someone left it there. He spends 2 hours grinding down the millstones. His hands ache. His fingers are raw. But by evening, the mechanism is ready. He pours in a handful of beans. He turns the handle. The beans crunch. The aroma rises instantly. Bitter, warm, alive. An aroma that doesn't exist in this world. Here they drink tea, tea by the book, tea on schedule. The same tea for everyone. One temperature, one variety, one way of serving it. There's no place for coffee in this world. Not yet, anyway. Aiden grinds just enough for 1 cup. He boils water in an old teapot he found on a shelf. He brews it right in the cup. Not ideal. No filter. No Turkish coffee pot. No coffee machine. But the aroma is right. And the taste. Bitter, with a hint of the Southern Islands tartness. With a light, nutty aftertaste. Aiden takes his first sip and closes his eyes. For 3 seconds he's back in Seoul, behind the counter, wearing an apron, with the coffee shop's logo on his chest. The bell on the door rings. A customer walks in.
Just another day. Just another life. He opens his eyes. Soul is gone. There's a dusty room, an old harpsichord, and a world that doesn't yet know what a latte is. Aiden finishes his cup. He rinses it with water from a pitcher. He puts the coffee bags away behind the harpsichord. He hides the grinder under the table. He closes the door. Tomorrow he'll brew a second cup, for Lady Martha, because she's the only person at this academy who smiled at him, and because Aiden knows. Kindness begins with a single cup. He walks down the hallway to his room and thinks about the schedule. Tomorrow is the third day of the season. Nothing important is on the agenda. The fourth day is quiet too. The fifth. But on the sixth day, according to the script, Prince Kalen invites Celeste Morgan on a horseback ride. The horse will bolt. The prince will save her. Romance factor plus 20. A classic of the genre. Aiden stops in the hallway. He shouldn't interfere. This isn't his scene, not his story, not his heroine. But he remembers something. From the prequel book he read in a past life. Celeste's mother died when she was 8. At the funeral, the coffin was covered with white lilies. Her father forbade her to cry. Since then, Celeste hasn't cried for 9 years. And the scene with the horse, the one where the prince grabs the reins and stops the horse. In that scene, Celeste feels no gratitude. She feels terror. Not from the horse, from the loss of control. She hates it when others make decisions for her. The prince doesn't know this. The prince thinks he's saving her, but in reality, he's driving her even deeper into her shell. Aiden stands in the dark hallway arguing with himself. Don't get involved. It's not your story. You're a background character. You've got 3 lines on the wiki. You're not even on the guest list for morning tea. What a ride. You don't belong here. But inside his head, there's another voice. Quiet, stubborn. The voice of a barista who spent 5 years listening to people behind the counter and knew that sometimes a single word spoken at the right moment changes everything. 4 days. He has 4 days to decide. He walks into his room, lies down on the bed. There's a rustling under the floor again, a little louder than yesterday. 4 days go by quickly. Aiden sticks to the plan. He doesn't meddle in the plot. He goes to classes, sits in the back row, takes notes on etiquette lectures, and keeps a low profile. The professors don't notice him. Neither do the students. Baron Graves is a dull, gray, unremarkable figure, more like a piece of furniture than a person. The only thing he allows himself is visits to the library. Every evening he comes to see Lady Martha. He sits at the bar. They talk. He brings her a handkerchief dampened with cold water for her wrist. On the third day, he brings something else. A small cup, a dark liquid, a bitter smell Lady Martha has never encountered before. She cautiously takes a sip. She grimaces. Then she takes a second sip, a third. She drinks it all the way to the bottom. She looks at Aiden. She says it's a strange drink, bitter like medicine. But after drinking it, her head feels clear. And for some reason, she feels like smiling. Aiden replies that it's called coffee. Lady Martha repeats the word, coffee. She pronounces it as if she's tasting it. She says she wants another cup tomorrow. Aiden promises. Meanwhile, he observes the scene. From a distance, cautiously. Prince Kalen is sticking to the schedule. Morning tea, walks in the garden, compliments to the heroines. Everything by the book. But there are deviations, small ones. Lily isn't looking at the prince with the enthusiasm she's supposed to. She's polite. She smiles. But something in her eyes has changed since the library. She started noticing things she hadn't noticed before. For example, that the servants don't have names. That Lady Martha massages her wrist every morning. That in the dining hall, there are seats for the students, but none for those who serve them. Little things. Cracks in the picture Lily had taken for reality her whole life. Aiden sees this and gets nervous. He didn't want this. One wrinkled patch in the carpet, and already the heroine is starting to think outside the script. Day 6. Morning. The sun is bright. The sky is clear. Perfect weather for a horseback ride. According to the script, the prince invites Celeste Morgan for a ride in the royal park. There, a horse named Storm will bolt. The prince will grab the reins. He'll save Celeste. Romance, music, flags. Aiden hasn't slept all night. The decision has been made. He gets up before dawn. He heads to the stable. It's dark and quiet there. The horses are breathing in their stalls. It smells of hay and manure. He finds Groza, a gray mare, large, beautiful eyes, nervous. She shifts from foot to foot and presses her ears back. Aiden approaches slowly. He takes his time. He reaches out his hand.
Groza snorts but doesn't back away.
He stands there for a minute. 2, 3. Then he places his hand on her muzzle. He strokes her, slowly, from the bridge of her nose up to her forehead. Groza gradually stops shifting her weight. Her ears perk up. Aiden takes an apple out of his pocket. He cuts it in half with a knife. He gives one half to the horse. Groza takes it gently. She chews. While she's chewing, Aiden examines her mouth. Carefully. The left side, the lower jaw. He sees it. The third molar. The gum around it is red, swollen. The tooth is loose. That's the reason. The horse isn't wild, it's in pain. When the rider pulls on the reins, the metal bit presses against the sore spot. The horse reacts the only way it knows how. It runs. Aiden hears footsteps behind him. He turns around. A man is standing in the stable doorway. Not young, tanned. His hands are rough. A stable-hand's assistant. Another invisible character. He's not in the game. He doesn't even have a background sprite. The man looks at Aiden suspiciously. He asks what a nobleman is doing at the stables at this hour. Aiden answers directly. Storm has a toothache. The third molar on the left. He needs a vet, or at least to pull out the loose tooth and rinse his gums. The stable hand's assistant is silent for 3 seconds. Then he walks over to Storm. He looks. He checks. His expression changes. He says he reported this to the head stable hand a week ago. The head stable hand said the horse just had a bad temper and needed a firm hand. The assistant knew it wasn't a matter of temperament. But who listens to a stable hand's assistant? Aiden asks his name. The assistant answers. Bert. Aiden nods. He says Bert was right, and asks for his help. They work together. Bert brings warm water and a clean cloth. Aiden holds Storm steady. Bert gently rinses the gums and wiggles the tooth. Storm stands calmly. An apple and some valerian from the kitchen supplies do their job. Half an hour later, the tooth is out. The gums are rinsed. Groza shakes her head. She snorts. And for the first time in weeks, she stands straight. She doesn't limp. She doesn't flatten her ears. The pain is gone. Bert looks at Aiden. He says he's never seen a nobleman who knows anything about horses. Aiden replies that he doesn't. He just noticed she was in pain. Bert nods slowly. Then he says that if the young baron ever needs anything at the stables, he should come by. Aiden thanks him and leaves. It's 9 in the morning. The horseback ride will begin in an hour. Aiden goes to his office. He washes his hands. He changes his clothes. He sits down at his desk. And he waits. He won't go to watch. He did what he could. The storm won't strike. The scene won't happen. The prince won't save Celeste. Another piece of the plot has been broken, and yet another person whom the world considered invisible now knows that someone hears him. Bert, the stable hand's assistant. Aiden sits in silence, thinking about how every intervention costs him a piece of knowledge. Yesterday, he clearly remembered the schedule for the third week of the season. Today, the third week is a blur. Details are slipping away. Specific times and locations of scenes are melting like sugar in hot water. The plot is shifting. The map no longer matches the territory. That's the price. Every good deed makes him a little blinder. In 2 hours, Aiden will find out the result, by accident.
Walking past the garden, he overhears two students discussing their morning ride. The horseback ride went smoothly. The horses behaved calmly. The prince and Celeste rode 2 laps around the park. Polite, boring, uneventful. The prince tried to strike up a conversation. Celeste replied with short phrases. There were no sparks. Scene 2-6 didn't happen. Aiden exhales. Good. But at that moment, he notices something. Celeste Morgan is walking along the garden path alone. Black hair, straight back, a face like a mask. She's not heading toward the dorm, she's heading toward the stables. Aiden watches her go. Celeste enters the stables. She comes out 10 minutes later. The same expression on her face, icy, impenetrable. But Aiden was standing close enough to see. As she was coming out of the stables, her right hand was slightly damp, as if she'd been stroking the horse's muzzle, and there were tiny gray hairs on her fingers from the storm. Celeste noticed that the horse was calm. She came to check on it and lingered. Aiden leaves before she sees him. That evening, he's sitting in his study, grinding grain for the next morning. The door creaks. He looks up. Yuna is standing in the doorway, the maid. She's holding a tray with clean dishes on it. Aiden doesn't understand. Yuna says quietly that she found out which room it was, that she wanted to thank him for what happened in the hallway. She brought clean cups from the kitchen, 3 of them, the ones with cracks that they're writing off anyway. Aiden looks at the cups, white with a fine web of cracks. Perfect. He says thank you and asks if she'd like to try some coffee. Yuna doesn't know what coffee is. No one in this world really does. Aiden brews her a cup. He adds a little honey because if you're not used to it, the bitterness can be off-putting. Yuna takes a sip. Her eyes widen. She takes a second sip, a third. She says it's like how you feel when you've slept for a long time and finally wake up. Aiden smiles. He's never heard a better description of coffee in his entire life. Not in this one, nor in his past life. Yuna finishes her cup. She stands up. She says she has to go. Her shift ends in an hour. But at the doorway, she turns around. She asks if she can come back again. Aiden says, of course. Yuna leaves. Her footsteps in the hallway are quieter than anyone else's in this academy, a habit of not being noticed. Aiden washes the cups. He puts them on the shelf. 3 chipped cups with cracks. A water pitcher. A coffee grinder. 2 bags of beans. An old harpsichord. This is his kingdom. Small. Quiet. Inconspicuous. Just like him. He blows out the candle and goes to his room. He lies down on the bed. He closes his eyes. There's a rustling under the floor. Louder. More distinct. As if someone is trying to say something but can't find the words. Aiden pulls the blanket over his head and speaks into the darkness. I can hear you. I don't know who you are, but I can hear you. The rustling stops for a second. Then it starts up again. Quieter. Almost affectionate. As if something under the floor is thanking him for not pretending to be deaf. The first week ends. The second begins. Aiden establishes a routine. Classes in the morning. His office in the afternoon. The library in the evening. Sleep at night. In between these blocks, he makes coffee. For Lady Martha every evening. For Yuna every other day when she brings clean dishes or fresh towels. Bert stops by once a week. He stands in the study doorway. He doesn't sit down. He drinks while standing. He thanks him with a nod and leaves. Aiden doesn't call anyone over. People come on their own. He just pours the coffee. On the 8th day of the season, something happens that he hadn't planned. In the morning, after a lecture on the history of the Australia family, Aiden walks down the 3rd floor hallway. There's a commotion ahead. Voices. He turns the corner and sees the scene. 3 female students are standing in a semicircle. In the center is Lily Ashcroft. Papers are scattered on the floor in front of her. Someone has knocked a folder of notes out of her hands. The students aren't shouting. They aren't hurling insults. They're doing something worse. They're smiling. One of them says in a sweet voice that Lily looks so awkward today. The second adds that the Count's daughter could be more careful. The third remains silent and smiles. Lily stands motionless. Her back is straight. Her face is calm. She doesn't pick up the papers.
She waits for them to leave. Because the Count's daughter doesn't get down on her knees in front of strangers. Aiden recognizes this scene. It's not the main plot. It's a side event. Background bullying that takes place behind the scenes in the game and affects Lily's hidden stress stat. By the end of the season, this parameter builds up and leads to the breakdown scene at the ball. But that's in the game. In reality, standing before him is a 16-year-old girl who can't afford to show that she's hurting. Aiden walks past. He doesn't stop. He doesn't look at the students. He simply bends down as he walks, picks up a piece of paper from the floor, and places it on the windowsill next to Lily. Not into her hands, on the windowsill, as if by accident, as if he'd just picked up some trash and set it on the nearest surface. The students pay no attention to him. The gray barren. An empty space. Aiden walks on. He stops around the corner. He counts to 10. He hears footsteps. The students are leaving. They're laughing. Then silence. Then a soft rustle. Lily is gathering the papers. Aiden leaves. The next day, Lily finds him. Not in the library, in the hallway. She walks toward him and stops. She says she wants to thank him. Aiden replies that he doesn't understand what for. Lily looks at him. For a long time. Then she says it's for the paper on the windowsill. Aiden shrugs. He says it was just lying on the floor. Lily is silent. Then she says she wants to ask him something. Aiden waits. Lily asks why he goes to the library every evening. Aiden replies that he talks to Lady Martha. Lily blinks. She asks who. Aiden says, the librarian, Lady Martha, the head librarian. Lily is silent. Then she says quietly that she didn't know her name. She's been going to this library for 3 years and didn't know the librarian's name. Aiden doesn't answer. Lily stands there for a few more seconds. Then she leaves. But Aiden watches her walk away. Not toward the dorm, toward the library. That evening, Lady Martha tells him that the Count's daughter approached her today. For the first time in 3 years. She asked her name. She asked where the botany books were shelved. And she said, thank you. Lady Martha repeats the word twice. Thank you. As if savoring it. Like coffee. Unfamiliar, bitter, but it makes you want to smile afterward. The 10th day of the season. According to the schedule that Aiden still remembers, though the details are already fading, scenes 3 and 4 are supposed to take place today. A tea ceremony in the winter garden. All 5 heroines are present. The prince pours the tea. Ariel Song, a foreign princess, drops her cup because she doesn't know the local protocol. The prince hands her a new one. Romance meter, +10. Aiden isn't going. It's not his scene. It's not his place. He's sitting in his office sorting through grains, separating the good from the bad. Monotonous work. It's calming. The door opens without a knock. Aiden looks up. Standing in the doorway is a girl he's never seen in person but recognizes instantly. Red hair, green eyes, a uniform with the student council president's gold insignia on the sleeve. Mire Han, the Academy's student council president. She stands in the doorway and surveys the room. Sacks in the corner, a mill on the table, grains on a tray, an old harpsichord, discarded cups with cracks. Mire says in an even voice that she has been informed of the unauthorized use of the room, that the abandoned office is not included in the list of student rooms, that storing food in the academic building violates paragraph 43 of the internal regulations. Aiden listens. He doesn't interrupt. When she finishes, he asks if she'd like a cup of coffee. Mire falls silent. It's the first time she's heard the word coffee. Aiden explains. A hot drink made from beans from the southern islands. Bitter, invigorating, not tea. Meyer says that has nothing to do with violating the regulations. Aiden says it does. If she tries it, she'll understand why he needs this room. Meyer stands in the doorway for another 3 seconds. Then she walks in. She sits down on a chair. Her back is straight. Her hands are on her knees. The posture of someone who is in complete control of every millimeter of her body. Aiden brews the coffee. He takes his time. He pours boiling water over the grounds. He waits. He stirs it. He strains it through a piece of cheesecloth he traded for at the laundromat in exchange for fixing a broken shelf. He pours it into a chipped cup. He sets it in front of Meyer. She takes the cup, tastes it, doesn't grimace, takes a second sip, sets the cup down, stares into it, remains silent for a minute. Then she says that after drinking this, her mind works clearly, as if the fog has been lifted. Aiden nods. Meyer finishes the cup. She stands up. She walks to the door. She turns around on the threshold. She says that the violation has been recorded, but the penalty will be minimal, a verbal warning, and that she'll stop by tomorrow to check if any new violations have appeared. She says this in an even tone, without a smile. But Aiden hears what lies behind the words. She'll stop by tomorrow. For another cup of coffee. The door closes. Aiden sits in silence and counts. Lady Martha, Yuna, Bert, Lily out of the corner of his eye, Meyer. 5 people in 10 days. That's too many. He shouldn't be gathering people around him. He's a background character, a prop. His task is to survive and disappear. But the coffee is doing its job. In a world of identical tea, identical bows, and identical smiles, the taste of something brewed just for you is like a crack in the wall. A small one, but you can see the light through it. The 11th day. Aiden is sitting in his study late at night. It's dark outside the window. He's rereading his etiquette textbook, trying to memorize the rules of bowing so as not to draw attention to himself at tomorrow's ceremony. The door opens. Yuna. She looks paler than usual. She speaks quickly and quietly. Tomorrow morning is the maid's inspection. The head housekeeper checks their uniforms. Yuna's apron is torn. She won't have time to sew it up. Thread and needles are issued once a month. It's still a week until the next distribution. If the housekeeper sees the torn apron, Yuna will be transferred to the kitchen. Scrubbing pots, a demotion, shame. Aiden silently opens the closet in the corner of the office. He takes out his off-duty shirt, the only decent item in his wardrobe. With a knife, he cuts a strip of fabric from the inside of the hem, where it won't be seen. White fabric, thin. It looks like the fabric of an apron. Not perfect, but it'll do in the dim light of the morning inspection. Yuna looks at him in horror. She says he's ruining his clothes. Aiden replies that he doesn't need his dress shirt. He's not going anywhere. Yuna takes the strip of fabric. Her hands are shaking. She says thank you so quietly that he can barely hear her. Then she leaves. Aiden looks at the cut-up shirt. He shrugs. He hangs it back up. He already knows he'll never wear it. The Barons of Graves don't go to balls. Day 12. Evening. Aiden is in the library with Lady Martha. She tells him about her youth, how 40 years ago she dreamed of becoming a scholar, studying ancient texts, and writing a dissertation. But women weren't allowed to do that back then. She was assigned to be a librarian, not a scholar, but a keeper of the shelves. She says this without bitterness, just a fact, like the weather outside the window. Aiden listens. Then he says he saw her notes in the margins of the catalog. She organizes the books according to her own system, not alphabetically, but based on connections between topics. It's a scientific classification. Lady Martha freezes. She says no one has ever read her notes. Aiden replies that he has, and that it's the best cataloging system he's ever seen. Lady Martha takes off her glasses. She wipes them. For a long time. Suspiciously long. When she puts them back on, her eyes are red. But she's smiling. Aiden goes back into the room. He lies down. There's a rustling under the floor. Now he can make out individual sounds. Not just one rustle, several. As if there isn't just one creature down there, but many. As if every time he helps someone invisible, something under the floor is added. Growing. Breathing. Aiden lies in the dark, and for the first time thinks that he might be doing something wrong. That every cup of coffee, every wet handkerchief, every strip of fabric from a shirt, none of it comes for free. Something is taking its toll. He doesn't know what yet, but the rustling under the floor becomes so loud that he doesn't fall asleep until an hour later. The second week of the season, the 14th day. Based on what little Aiden still remembers, something important is supposed to happen today. Ariel's song, the princess of the neighboring kingdom.
Scene 4, Take 2. A formal dinner in small hall. Ariel makes a mistake in the dessert serving protocol. She picks up the wrong fork. The entire hall falls silent. The prince covers her hand with his and whispers which fork to take. Rescue. Romance. Flag plus 15. Aiden isn't going to intervene. This isn't a threatening scene. No one will get hurt. Ariel will be embarrassed, but the prince will save her. According to canon, everything's fine. He repeats this to himself in the morning. In the afternoon. Over lunch in the cafeteria, where he sits alone in a corner eating soup. He won't go. It's none of his business. After lunch, he goes to his office. He makes coffee. He drinks it. He looks out the window. There's a garden in the courtyard. The paths are strewn with white gravel. Rose bushes. A fountain. It's beautiful. Ariel Song is walking along the path. He sees her in person for the first time. She's petite. Dark hair down to her shoulder blades. A dress of foreign cut. Slightly brighter than is customary in Australia. She's walking alone. Her hands are clasped behind her back. Her head is bowed. She isn't out for a walk. She's rehearsing. Aiden sees her lips moving. She's repeating the protocol to herself. The order of the forks. The order of the glasses. The order of addressing the person to her right. She's memorized it, but she's still afraid. Because in Australia there are 7 dessert forks, but in her kingdom there are 3. And if she gets them mixed up, the whole room will see. And they'll remember. And in a week they'll be whispering. A barbarian princess. Doesn't know the basics. How did they even let her into the season? Aiden watches her through the window and feels something inside him tighten. He knows this story. From the prequel book. Ariel was taught everything. 7 languages, 3 types of dance, the politics of 4 nations. But no one ever asked what she loves. No one asked what she wants. She was brought here like a commodity for display. Beautiful, expensive, high quality. She walks down the aisle, her lips moving. The fruit fork is on the far left. No, the far right. No. She stops, clenches her hands, stands motionless for 10 seconds. Then she walks on. Aiden steps away from the window, sits down at the table. He looks at his hands. Slender, an ink stain on his finger. Not his hands, not his world, not his problem. He stands up. He takes a blank sheet of paper from the stack he snatched from class. A pen. Ink. He draws. A simple diagram. A top-down view of the table. 7 forks on the left, 5 spoons on the right, 3 knives, 2 wine glasses. Each item is labeled, what it's for, in what order, and which hand to use. Small arrows indicate the sequence. A note at the bottom. The fork on the far left is for fruit, not the right one, the left one. The drawing takes 5 minutes. Aiden folds the sheet of paper. He leaves the office. He looks for Ariel. He finds her in the garden. She's sitting on a bench, looking at the fountain. Her lips are still moving. Aiden approaches. He bows. Not too deeply, not too casually. He introduces himself. Baron Graves. Ariel looks at him. She doesn't know him. To her, he's a nobody. The Grey Radiance, a minor noble. Aiden says he found a piece of paper on the floor in the hallway and thought it might belong to her. He takes out the folded sheet and places it on the bench next to her. Not into her hands, on the bench. Just like with Lily. Ariel looks at the sheet. She unfolds it. She sees a diagram. Her eyes widen. She lifts her head to ask something, but Aiden is already gone. He's left. Vanished around the bend in the path, just as a background character should. A formal dinner. A small hall. Aiden is seated far from the main table. His place is at the far end of the hall, by the wall, next to other minor nobles who are here merely to make up the numbers. He sees Ariel at the head table. She is seated between Lily and Celeste. The prince is across from her. Dessert is served. 7 varieties. Ariel lowers her eyes to the table. She looks at the forks. Her hand doesn't tremble. She picks up the one on the far left, the correct one. She cuts into the dessert. She eats, calmly, confidently, not a single mistake. The prince doesn't intervene.
He doesn't come to her rescue. He doesn't take her hand. The scene doesn't happen. Ariel gets through lunch flawlessly, and only once does she look up and glance toward the far end of the hall, where Baron Graves is sitting. Aiden isn't looking at her. He's eating his dessert and counting. 3 failed scenes. Lily in the library, Celeste on her walk, Ariel at lunch. 3 out of 32. Less than 10%. But the plot already feels different, like a garment that's become a little looser, like shoes that no longer pinch. The characters breathe outside the script, and someone notices it. After lunch, Aiden goes to his office. He opens the door. There's a note on the desk. The handwriting is unfamiliar, neat, slanted to the left. The note is short, 1 sentence. Thank you for the diagram, Baron Graves. There's no signature, but Aiden knows who it's from. He folds the note and puts it in his desk drawer, the first item in the drawer. Something new happens that evening. Mir comes in for her second cup of coffee. She sits down. She's silent. She drinks. Aiden doesn't speak. He's learned to do that with her. Meyer doesn't like it when silence is filled with words. She's tired of words, of presentations, of reports, of student council meetings. She needs silence in which she can just sit. They sit in silence for 10 minutes. Meyer finishes her coffee. She stands up. At the doorway, she says she has a dorm inspection tomorrow. It starts at 6 in the morning. She hasn't slept properly in 3 days. Aiden tells her to wait. He walks over to the shelf. He doesn't take out coffee. A small bundle. Dried chamomile that Lady Martha gave him last week. He brews it in a cup, adds honey, and a pinch of nutmeg, his grandmother's recipe. He hands it to Meyer. He says it's not for work, it's for sleep, and that she has the right to sleep. Meyer takes the cup. She looks into it, then at him. Her eyes are shining, not from tears, from exhaustion, so deep that it's already become part of her face. She speaks softly. No one had ever told her before that she has the right to sleep. Everyone said she had to try even harder. Aiden doesn't answer. Meyer walks away with the cup. The next morning, Yuna casually mentions to him that Head Hans slept through the morning inspection. For the first time in 2 years. The deputy led the inspection in her place. No one died. The world didn't collapse. Mira woke up at 10 because someone gave her chamomile tea with honey and told her she had the right to. The 15th day, the middle of the 2nd week. Aiden walks down the hallway toward his office after dinner. The East Wing hallway is empty. The torches on the walls burn dimly. The shadows are long. He turns the corner and stops. Celeste Morgan is standing in front of his office door. Black hair, an icy expression. Her arms are crossed over her chest. She didn't knock. She's waiting. Aiden approaches. He bows. He asks how he can help. Celeste looks at him, silently, for 10 seconds. Then she speaks in an even voice. She had been at the stables. She'd been talking to Bert. Bert told her that Baron Graves had come before dawn and treated a horse. Her horse. Storm. Celeste asks why. Aiden is silent for a second. Then he says that Storm was in pain. She had a toothache. He just noticed and helped. Celeste says that's not an answer. She asks why he would treat someone else's horse at 4 in the morning. Aiden thinks for a moment. Then he says he doesn't like it when someone is in pain and no one notices. Celeste is silent. For a long time. Then her jaw tightens slightly. The muscle in her cheek twitches. She turns and walks away, abruptly, without looking back. Her steps are stiff. Her heels clack against the stone like hammer blows. Aiden stands in the hallway and thinks. He said the wrong thing. Or maybe he said exactly the right thing. With Celeste, you never know. He walks into his office, sits down, makes coffee, drinks it, thinks about Celeste and her mother, about the coffin with white lilies, about the general who forbade his daughter to cry, about the 9-year-old girl who learned to freeze her tears inside and hasn't been able to get them out. He thinks about what he told her. He doesn't like it when someone is hurting and no one notices. It's a phrase about a horse, but Celeste heard something else. She heard that someone had noticed her pain, and that scared her more than a runaway horse. Aiden washes the cup. He puts away the grinder. He leaves the study and locks the door, propping it open with a chair. The lock still isn't working. He walks to his room. On the way, he passes by the window overlooking the courtyard. He stops. Down in the courtyard, under the streetlight, stands Celeste, alone. She stands motionless. Her face is turned toward the sky. Her eyes are closed. Her shoulders are slightly slumped. That's not how the general's daughter stands. That's how a tired person stands. Aiden steps away from the window and walks on. He won't spy on her. He won't save her. He won't heal her. Some things have to happen on their own. He can only leave the door open, literally and figuratively. At night, the rustling under the floor becomes distinct. Not just a rustle. Voices. Quiet, indistinct, like a radio on the quietest setting. Aiden lies there and listens. He tries to make out the words. He can't. But he hears one thing. Names. Someone is saying names. Martha, Bert, Yuna, and dozens more he doesn't know. The names of people the world has forgotten, whom the narrative has crossed out, who only as a backdrop to other people's stories. They whisper their names in the darkness beneath the floor. Because if no one says your name, you cease to exist. Aiden pulls the blanket over himself and speaks into the darkness. I hear you, Martha, Bert, Yuna. He says every name he could make out, slowly, clearly. The rustling dies down. The silence lasts 10 seconds. Then it resumes. Quieter, calmer, like the breath of a child who has finally fallen asleep. Aiden closes his eyes. 2.5 months until the end of the season. 3 ruined scenes. 5 people drinking his coffee. An unknown entity under the floor that knows his name, and a complete lack of a plan for what comes next. Because with each passing day, the plot map in his head grows fainter. It becomes vague. Scenes blur together. Dates get mixed up. He's breaking the story and losing the only advantage he had. But in exchange, he gets something else. People who come to his door not because it's written in the script, but because they want to. This scares him more than the voices under the floor. The 3rd week of the season, the 17th day. Aiden wakes up to a knock on the door. Early, insistent. He opens the door. Yuna stands on the threshold. Her face is pale. Her eyes are red. She speaks quickly. The housekeeper has announced an unscheduled inspection. All the maids are to report to the main hall in an hour. Someone reported that tableware is going missing from the academy. 3 missing cups. The very ones Yuna brought to Aiden's. Yuna says that if they find the cups in his room, they'll both be punished. She'll be fired, and so will he. She doesn't know what they'll do to him, but a nobleman will be in serious trouble for having a relationship with a maid. Aiden gets dressed in a minute. He goes to the study. He takes the cups, 3 of them, white and cracked, and carries them to the kitchen. He places them on the shelf with the clean dishes next to the rest. No one sees him. The cooks haven't arrived yet. He returns to the study and puts away anything that might attract attention. He hides the sacks of grain behind the harpsichord. He covers them with a cloth. He shoves the mill into the bottom drawer of the desk. The cups are gone. The evidence is gone. The room looks like an abandoned study. Dust, old sheet music, nothing suspicious. The inspection goes off without a hitch. The cups were found in the kitchen. The housekeeper decides they were simply put on the wrong shelf. Yuna stands in line with the maids, her face set in a stone-like expression. She can't breathe. When the inspection ends, she steps out into the hallway and leans against the wall. Her hands are shaking. Aiden is waiting for her around the corner. She walks over. She says thank you. Her voice breaks on the second syllable. Aiden tells her not to thank him. The cups were his idea. The risk was his. He should have thought it through beforehand. Yuna shakes her head. She says he's the only nobleman who runs around the kitchen at 6 in the morning to hide 3 broken cups for a maid. Aiden replies that he isn't a nobleman, he's a barista. Yuna doesn't understand the word. Aiden says he'll explain later. Yuna leaves. Aiden returns to his office and sits down at his desk. His hands are shaking. Not out of fear for himself, but at the thought that Yuna might have lost her job. That a single mistake on his part could have ruined the life of someone who'd worked for 8 years just to get by. He needs to be more careful. Every step in this world carries weight. Every gesture leaves a mark. He's not in a game. There's no save button here. There's no undo button. Day 18. Aiden decides it's time to change his approach to the office. An illegal coffee shop in the academic building is a ticking time bomb. He needs legitimacy, he needs protection, and he knows who can provide it. That evening, Myra comes in for her cup of coffee, her 5th of the day. She no longer mentions about violations of the bylaws. She sits down. She's silent. She drinks. But today, Aiden breaks the silence. He says he wants to offer her a deal. Myra raises an eyebrow. Aiden explains. He wants to register this room as an experimental cooking club. According to paragraph 27 of the Academy's bylaws, students have the right to form interest clubs with the approval of the student body president and 2 council members. The club receives a room and a minimal budget. Myra looks at him. She says she's read the bylaws. Aiden nods. All of them, from the first page to the last, in 2 evenings. Myra leans back in her chair. For the first time in all their meetings, she looks interested rather than tired. She asks what he's offering in return. Aiden says she can come any time, any drink, free, forever. And one more thing. He'll take care of the club's paperwork. All the paperwork. All the reports. All the documents. Mire runs 17 clubs. Each one requires a monthly report. That's 17 documents a month on top of her regular job. Aiden offers to relieve her of this task, at least for one club. Mire is silent for 30 seconds. Then she says she needs the names of 2 board members of the council who will support her. Aiden says he'll find them. Mire stands up. She says she expects the proposal on her desk by the morning after tomorrow. She leaves. Aiden thinks. 2 council members. He doesn't know anyone on the council, but he knows someone who knows everyone. Lady Martha. The following evening, he asks her which of the student council members owes her a favor. Lady Martha laughs, for the first time in his presence. A quiet, dry laugh. She says they all owe her a favor, because she's been keeping library cards for 40 years and knows who borrowed which books, including books from the restricted section. 2 days later, the club application is signed by 2 council members, both signed without looking after a brief visit from Lady Martha. The room in the East Wing officially becomes the Culinary Club's room. That's the name Aiden wrote in the document. Club for the Study of Alternative Hot Beverages. Myra reads the name and smiles at him for the first time, just the corner of her mouth, for half a second, but she smiles. The 20th day, the study is transformed. Yuna brings a tablecloth, old but clean. Bert drags 2 stools from the stable. Lady Martha donates a small bookshelf that didn't make it into the library catalog. Aiden places 3 books on the shelf, a textbook on etiquette, a botany reference book, and a collection of fairy tales he found at the back of the closet in his room. He hangs the club's schedule on the wall, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, from 4 to 6 in the evening, open to everyone. The club's first meeting. 4 people show up, Lady Martha, Yuna, Bert, and one more person Aiden didn't expect, Noah Pack. A senior, tall, a calm expression, dark eyes. In the game, he's Prince Kalen's best friend. Reliable, loyal, always in the background, always in the shadow of the golden radiance. Noah walks into the office, looks around, sits down on a stool, says he heard about the cooking club and decided to check it out. Aiden makes him some coffee. Black, no sugar, no honey. Noah takes a sip, doesn't grimace, finishes it, says the taste is interesting. Harsh, honest, unadorned. Aiden asks why he really came. Noah is silent. Then he speaks quietly. Prince Kalen has started asking questions about Baron Graves, who he is, why his name keeps coming up in conversations. Why did Lily ask about the librarian? Why does Celeste go to the stables? Why was Ariel smiling at the dinner party even though she's usually silent? The prince isn't stupid. He can see that something has changed, and he's looking for the reason. Noah says he came to warn him. Aiden thanks him. He asks what Noah plans to do about it. Report it to the prince? Noah shakes his head. He says he's tired of reporting, that his whole life he's been Kalen's eyes and ears, that he wants to decide for himself, at least once, where to look and what to listen to. Aiden pours him a second cup. Noah takes it. They sit in silence. Bert clears his throat and says the coffee is getting cold. Lady Martha says that cold coffee has a character all its own. Yuna laughs quietly. The first meeting of the circle takes place without lectures, without an agenda, without structure. People are simply sitting in a small room, drinking coffee, talking, or staying silent. In a world where every minute is scheduled according to protocol, this is a revolution. A small one. A quiet one. In a room with a dusty harpsichord and a window overlooking the garden. The 21st day. The end of the third week. Aiden walks down the hallway in the evening, late. The torches are burning out. The shadows are thick. He turns toward the east wing and sees a figure ahead. Prince Kalen, standing by the window, alone. His golden hair glows dimly in the light of the last torch. He's looking out into the courtyard. His face is motionless. Not angry, not cold. Empty. Aiden stops. He could turn around and leave another way. He should. The prince hasn't seen him. He could quietly slip around the corner and disappear, just as a background character is supposed to. But Aiden stands there and watches, and he sees something no player would ever see. Because in the game, the prince always faces the camera, always in a flattering angle, always handsome, always confident. Right now, he's standing sideways. His shoulders are slumped. His hand rests on the windowsill. His fingers are clenching the stones so tightly that his knuckles have turned white. He's unsure. He's confused. He doesn't understand why the world around him has stopped following the usual rules. 3 weeks ago, 5 girls were looking at him expectantly. Now they're looking past him, somewhere off to the side, toward the gray glow and the smell of coffee. The prince feels like he's losing something, but he doesn't know what. Because no one ever explained to him that you can't just get attention simply because you're the boss. You have to earn it. Aiden quietly backs away. He heads down another hallway. He makes his way to his room. He lies down. Voices under the floor, louder than ever. Now he can make out more than just names. He hears phrases, snippets of words. Why is he still here? Why isn't he with us? He took it, took what was ours. Aiden hears but doesn't understand who's speaking, doesn't understand what they've lost, doesn't understand why they're angry at him. He's just making coffee, just helping people, just doing what any normal person would do. The voices fade by dawn. Aiden doesn't sleep until morning. He lies there, staring at the ceiling. He counts the cracks in the plaster. 23. How can he be 23 if he's 17? No, he's 26. No, he's 17. It's the same body, but his memory is different. He falls asleep at dawn and sleeps for 3 hours. He wakes up to the sun shining on his face. A new day, a new week, the 4th week of the season. A month has passed, a third of the way through. Aiden saved Yuna from the housekeeper's inspection and legalized the study as a cooking club with the help of Meyer and Lady Martha. Noah Park attended the first meeting and warned that the prince had begun asking questions about Baron Graves. The voices under the floor began to utter coherent phrases and express anger toward Aiden for taking something that belonged to them. The 23rd day of the season. The morning begins with rain. Heavy raindrops strike the stained glass windows and run down the glass in colorful streaks.
Aiden is sitting in a heraldry lecture. The professor is drawing the Australian family crest on the board, a golden lion on a white field with 3 lilies beneath its paw. The students are taking notes. Aiden is taking notes too, but his mind is elsewhere. His knowledge of the plot is fading. If 3 weeks ago he remembered every scene down to the minute, now the remaining 29 scenes have blurred into a murky smudge. He remembers the general outlines, the rough events, but the exact dates and places have vanished. Like a photograph that's been left in the sun too long, the colors are still there, no details. Of what he remembers clearly, 2 events remain. First, in the 6th week of the season, there will be the fall ball, semi-formal, dancing, music. All students are invited. The prince must dance 1 dance with each heroine. Second, sometime toward the end of the 2nd month, the prince will organize the ball of choice, the climax of the season, the main event. At the ball, he must announce his choice. Between these 2 points, everything is a blur. Aiden doesn't know what will happen tomorrow, next week, an hour from now. He's flying blind. After class, he goes to the office. He opens the door. Inside is Celeste Morgan. She's sitting on a chair by the window with her back to the door. She doesn't turn around when he enters. Aiden closes the door. He walks over to the table and silently starts making coffee. Celeste speaks without turning around. She'd been here before, last night, when he wasn't there. The door wasn't locked. She walked in. She sat for a while, then she left. Today, she came back. Aiden places a cup in front of her, with honey. Just like that first time, which never happened. Because for Celeste, this is her first time. She takes the cup, drinks, remains silent. Aiden sits down at the table across from her and sifts through the beans. He doesn't look at her. He doesn't speak. He just works. 10 minutes pass. Celeste sets the empty cup on the table. She speaks softly. "Why, honey?" Aiden answers without hesitation. Honey in a hot drink helps when something's stuck inside. It doesn't have to be tears, just something stuck. Celeste is silent. Then she stands up. She walks to the door. She opens it. She stops. She stands in the doorway with her back to him. Her shoulders drop slightly, just a little, by a millimeter. Then she straightens up and leaves. Her footsteps are stiff. Her heels click on the stone, but quieter than last time. Aiden washes the cup. He sniffs it. There's a drop of honey on the side. He puts the cup on the shelf, separate from the rest. This is Celeste's cup now. She doesn't know that, but every time she comes, he'll pour into the same one. The 25th day. Ariel's song appears at the office door at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. She knocks 3 times, quickly, energetically. She walks in without waiting for a response. She looks around the room. She says it's less than she expected. Then she sits down. She places a piece of paper on the table. On it is a list, a long one, written in her neat handwriting, slanting to the left. Number 1, cinnamon. She likes cinnamon. She figured that out at a dinner party when she tried a cinnamon dessert and realized she liked it. Number 2, rain. She loves rain. In her kingdom, rain is a rarity, and every time it rains, she feels as though the world has become gentler. Number 3, picture books. She's 23. No, she's 16. She's a princess, and she likes picture books. She's never admitted this to anyone. Aiden reads the list. 12 items. Cinnamon, rain, picture books, cats, the smell of fresh bread, warm socks, the color of the sunset sky, whispers, soap bubbles, spicy food, drawing, being alone. He reads the last item twice. Being alone, not lonely, alone. There's a difference. Ariel says she started making this list after he asked what she would order if she could order anything. She couldn't answer then, but she went and started looking. It turned out she did have desires. It's just that no one had ever given her a reason to notice them before. Aiden nods.
He asks if she wants coffee with cinnamon. Ariel says, "Of course." He brews it. He adds a pinch of cinnamon to the cup before pouring. The aroma fills the room. Warm, spicy. Ariel takes a sip. She closes her eyes. She says this is number 13, coffee with cinnamon. She adds it to the list. They sit and talk. Ariel turns out to be quite talkative. Behind her icy diplomatic facade lies a person who simply hasn't had a real conversation with anyone in a very long time. She talks about her kingdom, about sandstorms and oases, about how, as a child, she used to hide in the library to avoid etiquette lessons, about how she dreams of drawing a map of all the places she's been, but has never drawn one because princesses aren't supposed to draw. They're supposed to pose. Aiden listens. He drinks his coffee. He nods. He doesn't interrupt. An hour later, Ariel leaves. She turns around at the door. She says she'll come back tomorrow. Aiden says he's here every day. Ariel smiles. Widely, openly, like a child, and she leaves. Aiden stares at the door. An imaginary indicator flashes in his head. Affection flag plus 30. He mentally slaps his forehead. No, stop, cancel. He didn't select that dialogue option. He just made some coffee, just listened. That's not a romance flag. It's just human interaction. But his inner gamer voice tells him that in Otome games, there's no difference. Any attention is a flag. Any kindness is points. The system doesn't distinguish between friendship and love. It only counts the number of interactions. Aiden sits in an empty office and thinks he's trapped. Every time he helps someone, he gets closer. Every time he gets closer, the world counts it as romance. But he doesn't want romance. He wants a coffee shop. A small one. A quiet one. With chipped cups and a view of the garden. Day 27. Evening. Aiden is in the library. Lady Martha closes the catalog. The last visitor left an hour ago. They're alone. Lady Martha says she wants to show him something. She leads him to a back room behind the bookcases. A small door. Behind it, a staircase leading down. Narrow. Stone walls. It smells of dampness and old paper. Downstairs is a basement storage room. Floor-to-ceiling shelves. Books that aren't checked out. Old. Dilapidated. Some are 300 years old. Lady Martha stops at the far wall. She points to a shelf. On it are notebooks. Dozens of them. Leather-bound. Yellowed pages. She says she found them 20 years ago. Diaries. Belonging to students who studied at the academy and disappeared. They didn't die. They didn't leave. They vanished. Their names disappeared from the rosters. Their rooms were emptied overnight. Their belongings vanished, as if they had never existed. Aiden picks up one notebook. He opens it. The handwriting is small, neat. The entry is dated 30 years ago. The author writes that he feels strange, that people have stopped noticing him, that in class the teacher skips his name during roll call, that his roommate looks right through him. The last entry. Today I became invisible. I can see my hands, but they glow gray. I hear voices downstairs, under the floor. They're calling. The rest of the pages are blank. Aiden closes the notebook. His hands are cold. Lady Martha says quietly that there are 43 such notebooks here. 43 students over 40 years, all with a gray radiance. All have disappeared. All heard voices under the floor. Aiden puts the notebook back. He asks why she showed it to him. Lady Martha looks at him over her glasses. She says he's the first person with a gray glow in the last 5 years who hasn't become transparent, who has become more visible. And she wants to understand why. Aiden is silent. He knows why. Because he isn't the original Baron Graves. Because inside this body sits a man from another world. A man who knows the rules of the game. Who refused to fade away. But he can't tell her that. He says he doesn't know, that he's just making coffee and talking to people. Lady Martha nods. She doesn't believe him, but she doesn't press the issue. They go upstairs. Lady Martha locks the vault door. She hands him the key. She says he needs it more. Aiden takes the key. It's heavy, made of iron, cold. He goes to his room, lies down. The voices under the floor are quiet today, calm, as if they're waiting. 43 students, 43 gray shines. They've all disappeared. They've all gone there, down, under the floor, into the gray. Aiden clenches the key in his fist and falls asleep with it in his hand. Celeste began coming to the office silently to drink coffee with honey. Ariel brought a 12-item wish list and became a regular. Lady Martha showed Aiden the basement storage room containing the diaries of the 43 missing students with the gray radiance and gave him the key. All those who disappeared heard voices under the floor before vanishing. Day 30. A month has passed. Aiden lives in 2 modes. During the day, he's a background figure. He attends lectures, sits in the back row, takes notes, remains silent. Gray radiance, an empty space. In the evening, he's a different person. In a small office in the East Wing, he pours coffee for people who come not because they have to, but because they want to. The schedule fell into place on its own. Monday, Mire. Tuesday, Yuna. Wednesday, open house. Thursday, Ariel. Friday, Lady Martha. Saturday, Bert. Sunday, Aiden alone. He washes the cups. He sifts the beans. He thinks.
Celeste doesn't follow the schedule. She comes whenever she wants, sometimes twice a day. Sometimes she disappears for 3 days. She always sits by the window, always with her back to the door, always silent. Lily doesn't come, not once. Aiden sees her from a distance, in lectures, in the dining hall, in the garden. She's polite, she smiles. She plays the role of the ideal heroine, but twice he notices her glancing toward the East Wing, toward his window, and then she looks away. The 32nd day. What Aiden had been waiting for since day 1 and hoping would never happen finally occurs. After his morning lecture, a man in the uniform of the palace guard intercepts him in the hallway. Polite. Polite. He hands him a note on letterhead, a gold seal. Prince Kalen invites Baron Graves to a private conversation. Today, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the small parlor in the South Wing. Refusal is impossible. Aiden reads the note twice, folds it, puts it in his pocket. He goes to his study, makes coffee, drinks it, thinks. In the game, Prince Kalen isn't a villain. He's spoiled, impatient, accustomed to the world revolving around him, but he's not evil. The problem is that a spoiled person with absolute power is more dangerous than a villain. A villain knows he's doing wrong. A spoiled person thinks he's doing the right thing. 4 o'clock, the small parlor. It's a beautiful room. The walls are paneled with wood, a fireplace, 2 armchairs facing each other. Between them, a small table with a tea set. White porcelain, not a single crack. Prince Kalen sits in the armchair on the right. Golden hair, impeccable posture. A faint radiance flickers around his shoulders. Even at rest, he glows. Aiden bows, 45 degrees, just as it says in the textbook. He sits down in the left armchair, back straight, hands on his knees. His face is calm. Inside, everything is clenched into a fist. The prince pours the tea, himself, without servants. It's a sign of respect, or a threat. In Australia, the line between the two is thin. He places the cup in front of Aiden. Aiden thanks him. He doesn't drink. He waits for the prince to take the first sip. Protocol. The prince drinks. Aiden drinks. The tea is impeccable, without character, without individuality. Hot water with leaves, the same for everyone. The prince sets down his cup. He says he's glad to finally meet him, that he's heard Baron Graves' name more often than he expected in recent weeks, that this is unusual for someone with a gray radiance. His voice is even, no threat, no irritation, just a statement of fact. Aiden replies that he doesn't know what he's done to deserve such attention, that he merely runs a cooking club in his spare time. The prince smiles,
A subtle smile. A beautiful smile. A rehearsed smile. He says that a cooking club is wonderful, that he's pleased with the students' initiative, and that he'd like to know why 5 of the season's distinguished female guests are showing interest in this club. There it is, the blow. Gentle, polite, precise. The prince isn't shouting, he isn't threatening. He's asking a question with no safe answer. If Aiden says the girls come on their own, the prince will assume he's poaching them. If he says he hasn't noticed their attention, the prince will realize he's lying. If he remains silent, the prince will take it as insolence. Aiden takes a sip of tea. He sets down his cup. He says the following. He doesn't invite anyone. The office door is open. Whoever wants to come, comes. Whoever doesn't want to, doesn't. He makes coffee. That's all he does. The prince is silent. He looks at him. Golden eyes, a heavy gaze. Aiden holds his ground. Not because he's brave, because he knows from the guides. Prince Kalen respects those who don't look away. This is a hidden game parameter. In the game, not a single character could hold his gaze. Aiden has no in-game limitations. He's just a person looking at another person. The prince leans back in his chair. He says he appreciates the candor, and that he has one request. He'd like to try this coffee everyone's been talking about. Aiden didn't expect that. In his script, the prince was supposed to make threats, revoke the scholarship, arrange a duel, but not ask for coffee. The plot has shifted. The prince isn't acting according to the script. Or maybe he is acting exactly according to the script, but Aiden can no longer remember which version is the right one. He says he'd be happy to have him over. That the prince can come any time. The door is open to everyone. The prince nods. He stands up. He extends his hand. Aiden shakes it. The prince's hand is warm, strong. The hand of a man who trains with a rapier every morning. A hand that could break Aiden's fingers with a single squeeze. But it doesn't. Aiden leaves the living room. He walks down the hallway. His legs feel like cotton. His head is buzzing. He's just had his first direct encounter with the prince. No blood, no disgrace, no duel, but something isn't right. The conversation was too easy, too polite. The prince is up to something. Or the prince is changing. Aiden doesn't know which is worse. Yuna is waiting for him in the study. She's sitting at the table, polishing the cups with a cloth. New cups. 6 of them, intact, no cracks. She says she bought them at the market with her own money. She saved up for 2 weeks. Aiden looks at the cups. White, plain, cheap, no coats of arms, no monograms, ordinary cups for ordinary people. He picks one up, holds it in his hands. Yuna says they had to return the old cracked ones because the housekeeper keeps track of the tableware. But these are new. These belong to the study. No one will take them away. Aiden places the cup on the shelf, next to Celeste's cup. Now everyone will have their own. He mentally assigns them. This one is for Meyer. This one is for Ariel. This one is for Bert. This one is for Lady Martha. This one is for Yuna. And the 6th. He sets the 6th one aside, on the edge of the shelf, for Lily, who hasn't come. Not yet, anyway. Day 34, late evening. Aiden goes down to the basement storage room, alone, with Lady Martha's key, with a candle, and with a cup of coffee. He sits down on the floor between the shelves. He reads the diaries, one after another. 43 notebooks, 3 stories in each. They all begin the same way. A student feels out of place. A student notices that no one sees him. A student hears voices. A student disappears. But in every notebook, there's a moment, one paragraph, one sentence, where the author writes about what they wanted to do. One wanted to become a chef. Another wanted to paint. A third wanted to move to the countryside and keep bees. Small dreams, ordinary, human. Not a single one wanted to be a hero. None of them wanted the golden radiance. They just wanted to be. Aiden sits in the basement and reads until 3 in the morning.
He finishes his cold coffee. He closes the last notebook. And he hears it, quietly, behind the wall. Not under the floor, behind the wall. A voice. One. Young. Male. The voice speaks. You read my diary. Aiden freezes. The candle trembles in his hand. A shadow on the wall moves. Not his shadow. Another one. Blurry. Gray. The voice speaks again. My name was Thomas Graves. Baron Graves. Just like you. Aiden feels the air in the basement grow cold, thick, heavy. The gray shadow on the wall grows. It takes shape. Shoulders, head, arms. No face. There is no face. Just a gray blur where features should be. The voice. You've taken my place. You're living my life. You drink from my cups. You talk to my people. I was supposed to disappear, but you stayed. Why? Aiden opens his mouth, closes it, opens it again, speaks. Because someone called out. The shadow freezes, for a long time. Then the voice grows quieter. I know. I called out. But I didn't think it would work. The shadow begins to fade, to melt away. The voice is barely a whisper. Live, but don't forget us. We're here, under the floor, in the walls, in the shadows. We're all here. The shadow vanishes. The air grows warmer. The candle stops flickering. Aiden sits on the basement floor and doesn't move for 20 minutes. Then he gets up. He picks up the empty cup. He goes upstairs. He locks the door to the storage room. He goes to his room. Lies down. Doesn't sleep until dawn. There's only one thought in his head. The original Baron Graves called to him. From oblivion. From the grayness. Because he didn't want to fade away. And he found a weary barista from Seoul who too had felt invisible his whole life. They found each other across worlds, across death, through oblivion. And now Aiden carries the burden for both of them, for himself and for the one who was erased. It's quiet under the floor, quiet for the first time in a week, as if the shadow had told the others that everything was all right, that this one is living for them. Let him live. Prince Kalen summoned Aiden for a private conversation and, instead of threats, asked him to try the coffee. Yuna bought 6 new cups for the office with her own money. Aiden went down to the basement at night and met the shadow of the original Baron Graves, Thomas, who confirmed that he himself had summoned Aiden into this world and asked him to live for all of them. Day 36, Week 6. The fall ball is in 4 days. The academy is buzzing. The female students are discussing dresses. The male students are discussing who to dance with. Tailors are working around the clock. Florists are filling the halls with flowers. White lilies everywhere. Aiden sees them and thinks of Celeste, of her mother's coffin, about the white lilies on the lid, about the scent that for everyone else signifies a celebration, but for her signifies death. He goes to his office. On the desk is a note from Mire, a short one. The ball is on Saturday. All students are required to attend, including club leaders. Formal attire is required, no exceptions. Aiden looks at the note, then at the closet. Formal attire. He has one. The very one with the cut-off strip on the hem of the shirt. He puts it on. He stands in front of the mirror. The uniform fits fine. So does the shirt. As long as he doesn't lift the hem, the cut is invisible. Shoes. His dress shoes. Worn, but clean. It'll do. He isn't going to the ball to dance. He's going because he has to, and because something is going to happen at the ball. He doesn't remember exactly what. His memory of the plot is almost gone. But some feeling remains, an uneasy one, like phantom pain in an amputated arm. Something will go wrong. Day 39, Saturday, evening, the grand ballroom.
Floor-to-ceiling stained glass windows, chandeliers with 1,000 candles, the marble floor polished to a mirror-like shine. The orchestra plays a waltz, the nobles dance, dresses swirl, sparkles shimmer, gold, silver, blue, pink, beautiful, dazzlingly beautiful. Aiden stands by the wall, between a column and a drinks table. His vantage point is perfect. He can see the entire hall. He sees the prince in the center. The golden glow is the brightest of all. He's dancing with Lily. Lily is smiling. But from this distance, Aiden can see, her smile doesn't reach her eyes. Her dancing is technically flawless, but like a machine, not like a human being. The prince doesn't notice. To him, everything is going just right. The music is playing, his partner is smiling, the audience is watching. The rules are being followed. The second dance is with Celeste. She moves precisely, rigidly, like a soldier on parade. The prince leads, she follows, but her face is a mask, even more so than usual. Aiden sees why. Lilies, they're everywhere. On the tables, on the walls, in vases by every column, their scent fills the hall. Celeste dances in a cloud of fragrance that reminds her of her mother's coffin, and she doesn't let on, not with a single gesture. The third dance is with Ariel. She's light on her feet, quick. She holds her position well, not a single mistake on the score sheet. The prince is pleased. Ariel smiles. But Aiden notices. She's counting the steps. Her lips move slightly. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. She isn't dancing. She's carrying out a task. The fourth dance is with Meyer. She's pale. Even powder can't hide the bags under her eyes. She hasn't slept for 3 nights. The ball required preparation, checking, coordination. She dances and stands up straight, but Aiden sees her leg buckle slightly on the third turn. She's exhausted to the limit. The prince doesn't notice. The fifth dance. The prince scans the ballroom. The fifth partner isn't there, because the fifth is Lily again. According to the rules of the game, the prince dances with her twice, the opening and closing dances. But Lily is standing by the far wall. She's talking to someone. She isn't looking at the dance floor. The prince waits. Lily doesn't come. Aiden watches. And at that moment, what he feared happens. Prince Kalen turns his head. He scans the room. His gaze settles on Aiden. Golden eyes, heavy, cold. The prince walks toward him. The hall parts. People turn around. A wave of whispers sweeps through the room. The prince stops in front of Aiden. He smiles. He speaks loudly so that the entire hall can hear. Baron Graves, I've heard that the Baron possesses unusual talents, that he brews exotic drinks, that he entertains us culinary experiments. Perhaps the Baron will demonstrate his skills right here and now, before the entire court. The hall falls silent. Everyone is watching. Aiden stands by the wall, slender, pale, a gray radiance. Next to the prince, he looks like a shadow beside the sun. This is not an invitation. It is a public challenge. The prince wants to humiliate him, to show everyone that Baron Graves is a clown, a magician, entertainment for bored ladies, not an equal, not a threat, an insect. Aiden looks at the prince. 3 seconds. Then he nods, says he'd be happy to, asks for 10 minutes. The prince spreads his hands. The hall buzzes with noise. Aiden leaves. He walks down the hallway, quickly, into his office. He grabs the mill, a bag of grains, a teapot, cups, all 6 of them, cheesecloth for straining, honey, cinnamon, nutmeg, milk that Yuna had left that morning in a cool spot by the window. He piles everything onto the cart that Bert had hauled in a week ago for firewood. He wheels it into the hall. 10 minutes. He enters the ballroom with the cart. The orchestra falls. Everyone is watching. Aiden rolls the cart to the center of the hall. He sets the grinder on the table. He takes out the beans, and he begins. Silently, unhurriedly. He pours in the beans and turns the handle. A crunching sound fills the silence, rhythmic, steady. The aroma rises, bitter, warm, unfamiliar to everyone in this hall except a few. Aiden boils water in a teapot over a candle. He waits. He brews the tea. He strains it. He pours it. 6 cups. He pauses in front of each one. He thinks. He adds sugar. He places the first one on a tray. He carries it to Lily. He speaks softly, but in the silence of the room, every word is heard. Lady Lily. No sugar, just the way she likes it. Lily takes the cup. Their fingers don't touch, but she looks him in the eyes, for the first time in a month. Aiden returns to the table. The second cup, he carries it to Celeste. Lady Celeste. With honey, she remembers. Celeste takes the cup. Her fingers pause for a second. The muscle in her cheek doesn't twitch. For the first time, it doesn't twitch. The third cup, Ariel. Lady Ariel. With cinnamon. She added it to the list last week. Ariel takes the cup and smiles, broadly, not diplomatically, genuinely. The fourth cup, Meyer. Lady Meyer. Decaf. She needs to get some sleep today. Meyer takes the cup, her eyes sparkle, but she nods calmly, reservedly, just as a head girl should. The fifth cup, Aiden doesn't carry it to the heroines' table. He walks toward the wall, to the staff table, where Yuna stands, in a maid's uniform, with a tray, invisible. Aiden sets the cup in front of her. He speaks. Yuna, your usual, triple. The hall falls silent. A nobleman has served a drink to a maid, by name, in front of the entire court. Yuna stands with the cup in her hands and doesn't move. Her eyes are huge. She doesn't know what to do. Aiden smiles at her, quietly, warmly. Then he turns and walks toward the prince. The sixth cup. He places it in front of Kaylin. He says, Your Highness. Black, no frills, just as it is. Silence. The prince looks at the cup, then at Aiden, then back at the cup. Black coffee. No sugar, no honey, no cinnamon. Just coffee. Pure, honest, just as it is. No frills, no gold, no radiance. Just a man in a cup. The prince picks up the cup. He drinks. The entire hall watches. The prince sets the cup down. A strange expression crosses his face. Not anger, not irritation, not triumph. Something else. Something Aiden hasn't seen in any animation, any sprite, or any guide. The prince speaks softly, so quietly that only Aiden can hear him. Bitter, but good. Aiden nods. He takes the cart. He leaves the hall. Behind him, the orchestra begins to play again. The dancing resumes. But something has changed. Each of the 5 girls is holding her own cup. Not a single one has set hers down. They're drinking coffee brewed just for them, in a hall where everyone else is drinking the same tea. And each one knows. She's been remembered. Aiden returns to his office. He sits down. His hands are shaking. He presses his palms against the desk. He closes his eyes. He has just done something he hadn't planned to do. He stepped out of the shadows. He stood in the center of the room. He showed the entire courtyard that a background character can do what no one else can. The prince wanted to humiliate him, but instead he gave him the spotlight, and Aiden took it. Not as a baron, not as a gamer, as a barista. Who knows one thing, you don't brew coffee for yourself. Coffee is brewed for you. At the autumn ball, the prince publicly challenged Aiden to demonstrate his skill, hoping to humiliate him. Aiden brewed 6 personalized cups of coffee, 1 for each heroine, 1 for Yuna, and 1 for the prince himself. He called the maid by name in front of the entire court and served the prince black coffee with words that made him, for the first time, see himself without his facade. That moment was a turning point, and Aiden finally stepped out of the shadows. The 40th day, a week after the ball, Aiden's world had changed. Before, no one had noticed him. Now everyone notices him. Students turn to look at him in the hallways. They whisper. That very same baron, the one who was brewing something strange at the ball, the one who called the maid by name, the one who looked the prince in the eye and didn't look away. Aiden hates every second of this attention. He's a background character. He's not supposed to stand out. But there's no turning back. You can't pour spilled coffee back into the cup. The first consequence comes on Monday. his scholarship, or rather, the lack thereof. The Academy's treasurer summons Aiden and informs him that Baron Graves' monthly stipend has been suspended. The reason? A review of support for students with low radiance ratings. The signature on the order isn't the treasurer's, it's from the prince's office. Aiden leaves the office with empty pockets. 5 silver coins a month were his only income. Grains cost money. Milk costs money. Candles for his study. Ink for his notes. Even water in this world isn't free. He goes into his study and takes stock. He has enough grain to last 3 weeks, maybe 4 if he scrimps. Honey for a week. Cinnamon for 2. No milk. No money. He sits at the table and thinks. He could close the study, stop brewing, become invisible again, retreat into the shadows. It's safe. It's the right thing to do. It's what a smart person would do. The door opens. Yuna. She sets a pitcher of milk on the table. She says the cook in the kitchen writes off the milk every morning if it hasn't been used by lunchtime. She's arranged to take the discarded milk every day for free. Aiden looks at the pitcher, then at Yuna. Yuna shrugs, say that it's just milk, which they'd pour out anyway. An hour later, Bert arrives. He brings a small bag of dried herbs, mint, chamomile, sage. He says they grow behind the stable. No one picks them. It's not hard for him. In the evening, Lady Martha passes a small bundle to Yuna. Inside are 3 silver coins from her own savings with a note. For food. Aiden sits in his study and lays out the gifts on the table. Milk, herbs, money. People whom the world considered invisible are feeding the one who saw them. He presses his palms to his face and sits like that for a minute. Then he stands up, makes coffee, drinks it, and comes up with a plan. If the prince wants to strangle him financially, he needs another source of income. Not a scholarship. Something of his own. Something that doesn't depend on the crown. The idea comes to him at night. Simple. Obvious. There's no coffee in this world. None at all. Sailors bring in beans as ballast. They're bought on the cheap. No one knows what to do with them. But after the ball, the entire court had heard the word coffee. The entire court had seen the 5 most noble young ladies in the kingdom drinking this beverage and refusing to put down their cups. In a week, every other aristocrat will want to try it. There's demand. There's no supply. Except for Aiden. He goes to Meyer the next day. He says he wants to apply for a trade patent. Under Australia's law, any noble has the right to patent a unique product or method as long as it doesn't conflict with royal monopolies. Coffee doesn't conflict. Coffee isn't listed in the registry. Meyer reads the charter. She finds the relevant paragraph. She confirms it. She says the patent costs 10 silver coins, which Aiden doesn't have. Aiden thinks it over. Then he goes to see Noah. Noah listens. He remains silent. Then he says he has savings, 20 silver coins, accumulated over 4 years. He didn't know what to spend them on. Now he knows. They file the application together as partners. Noah as co-investor. Aiden as master producer. A patent for a method of roasting, grinding, and brewing coffee. The first in the history of Australia. The document is registered in 3 days. The prince's office doesn't have time to intervene because it doesn't know about it, because the patent office is a boring bureaucratic agency where the golden radiance never shines. Day 44. Aiden starts selling, not by himself, through Noah. Noah knows people. He knows which nobles are curious, who has money, who wants to be trendy. The first 10 cups sell out in a single evening. 1 silver piece each. 10 silver pieces for the evening. Double his monthly stipend. Aiden stands at the table in his study and brews. Noah takes orders and collects money. Yuna helps with the dishes. Bert delivers the beans from the port. Lady Martha keeps the books. A team. Small. A ragtag group. Made up of people no one considered important. And it works. Day 45. A problem. Celeste hasn't shown up. 3 days in a row. Usually she shows up at least once every 2 days. Silently. She sits down. She drinks. She leaves. She's not here now. Aiden asks Yuna. Yuna says Lady Morgan has locked herself in her room. She won't come out. She isn't eating. She's ordered the maids not to disturb her. Aiden thinks.
He looks at the calendar he started for the club's schedule.
He counts the days. He realizes it's the anniversary of his mother's death. That's why. He takes Celeste's cup, her personal one, and brews some coffee with honey. He places it on a tray and heads toward the women's dorm. He's not allowed in there. Men are prohibited from entering, paragraph 16. He finds Yuna and asks her to take it in. Yuna takes the tray. She goes upstairs. She knocks on Celeste's door. Silence. Yuna sets the tray on the floor in front of the door and leaves. An hour later, Yuna checks. The tray is still in the same spot, but the cup is empty. Aiden nods. The next day, Celeste appears in the office. She sits by the window with her back to the door. She's silent, as always, but today something's different. She sits longer than usual, 2 hours, 3, 4. She doesn't leave. Aiden brews her a second cup, then a third. He doesn't ask. He doesn't speak. He just pours it and sets it down beside her. Celeste drinks. She looks out the window. It's getting dark in the garden. The streetlights come on. She speaks. Her first words in 4 hours. Her mother loved honey. She'd add it to every drink. After the funeral, her father removed the honey from the house. He said there were enough sweets, that sweets were for the weak. Celeste is silent. Then she speaks again. When she first tried coffee with honey in this office, she remembered the taste of her mother's tea for the first time in 9 years. And she couldn't breathe. So she went out into the hallway, and she cried. For the first time in 9 years. Aiden listens. He doesn't move. He doesn't interrupt. He doesn't comfort her. He just listens. Celeste says she hates him for it. For the honey. For making her remember. For the fact that now she can't stop remembering. Every sip is mom. Every sip is a funeral. It hurts every time, and every time it comes back. Because this pain is alive. But what came before it, that 9-year silence, was dead. She falls silent, gets up, walks to the door. On the threshold, she turns around for the first time in all her visits. Looks at him. Her eyes are red, dry. She isn't crying, but she's ready. She speaks softly. Thank you. And she leaves. Aiden sits in silence. He washes Celeste's cup. Carefully, slowly. He places it on the shelf, in its spot, separate from the rest. He thinks about how he just wanted to make coffee, just to survive, just to disappear. But instead, he's become the kind of person who makes people cry, who opens doors they've locked with 9 locks, who pours honey into a cup and doesn't even realize he's putting someone's mother in there. Night. Room. Bed. Ceiling. Cracks. 23. It's quiet under the floor. Completely quiet. As if even the voices of the forgotten were listening to Celeste and didn't dare to interrupt. The prince revoked Aiden's scholarship, but a team of invisible figures helped out with resources. Aiden and Noah secured the first ever coffee sales license in Australia's history and began selling. Celeste disappeared for 3 days on the anniversary of her mother's death and, for the first time, to Aiden about her mom and about honey. She confessed that she hated him for making her feel and thanked him for it. The 50th day. 2 months have passed. 1 month remains until the ball of choice. Aiden is sitting in his office, staring at the wall. On the wall is the club's schedule. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But they've been coming every day for a long time now. The office has become a place. Not a room, a place. The kind you get used to, like the smell of home. Yuna brought curtains. White, simple. Bert nailed up a shelf for cups.
Lady Martha gave them an old vase, which now holds a branch of wild roses. Ariel hung her first drawing on the wall, a slightly crooked sketch of the study viewed from the window. She drew it for 2 hours, sticking out the tip of her tongue in her eagerness. Aiden thinks it's the most beautiful thing he's ever seen in either world. The coffee business is growing. Noah turned out to be a logistics genius. He arranged for regular coffee bean shipments with 3 ships. He found a warehouse at the port. He hired 2 young boys to handle deliveries. The income is steady, 20 silver coins a week. For Baron Graves, that's a fortune. For the prince, it's pocket change. But the prince takes notice. Day 52, the second attack. In the morning, Aiden finds a seal on his office door, red, with the Academy's coat of arms. A notice of violation of health regulations. Cooking in classrooms is prohibited under paragraph 43, Amendment 2. The office is sealed pending the results of the inspection. Aiden stands in front of the sealed door. He reads the notice. Signed, the Public Works Committee. Committee Chair, Viscount Darrell, the prince's closest friend after Noah. So that's how it is. Not a direct hit, bureaucratic, clean. Impossible to blame the prince. He has nothing to do with it. It's just an inspection, just the charter, just the rules. Aiden walks over to Meyer. She already knows. She's sitting at her desk in the dean's office, sorting through papers. Her face is stony. She says that the investigation will take a week, maybe 2. The office will be closed until the results are in. Aiden asks what can be done. Meyer looks up. She says quietly that paragraph 43 prohibits food preparation, but paragraph 27 allows club activities. If we reclassify coffee from a food item to educational material for the club studying alternatives hot beverages, then paragraph 43 doesn't apply. An expert assessment is needed. An expert is needed. Time is needed. Aiden thanks her. He leaves. He thinks. An expert. Who in this world can confirm that coffee is educational material? The answer comes to him that evening. Lady Martha, head librarian, 40 years of experience, scientific classifications in the margins of the catalog. If anyone can write an expert opinion stating that coffee beans are the subject of botanical and cultural studies, it's her. Aiden goes to the library. He explains the situation. Lady Martha listens. She takes off her glasses, wipes them, puts them back on. She says one word. Sit down. She writes for 3 hours. Aiden sits beside her in silence. Lady Martha fills 4 pages with tiny handwriting, classification, references to botanical treatises, a comparative analysis of tea and coffee cultures, the history of trade routes in the southern islands, coffee as an object of intercultural exchange. She writes like a scholar. Because she is a scholar. She always has been. It's just that no one ever let her write. In the morning, Mireille submits her expert report to the Public Works Committee. Viscount Darrell reads it. He rereads it. He can't find anything to nitpick. 4 pages of flawless scholarly argumentation, with the library's seal, signed by the head librarian with 40 years of experience. You can't argue with that. The seal is removed from the door in 2 days instead of 2 weeks. The office is open. Aiden walks in. Everything is in place. The grinder, the cups, the beans, a sprig of rosehip in a vase. Ariel's drawing on the wall. He stands in the middle of the study and breathes. It smells like coffee. It smells like home. Day 55. Lily arrives. For the first time. She stands in the doorway and doesn't come in. Her hands are clasped in front of her. Her posture is perfect. Her back is straight. Her smile is flawless. Everything as it should be for a count's daughter. But her eyes are different. There's something in her eyes that Aiden saw once before, when she stood in the library on the first day and looked at him and Lady Martha. Curiosity and weariness. Lily says she's come to check out the club, if she may, if she's welcome. Aiden says the door is open to everyone. He points to a chair. Lily steps inside. She sits down. She looks around the room. Her gaze lingers on the cups, on the painting, on the windmill, on the rosehip branch. She says nothing. Aiden brews coffee.
No sugar. He remembers from the guidebook. Lily doesn't like sweets. She doesn't tell anyone this because a count's daughter is supposed to like everything she's served. But there was one paragraph in the supplementary booklet.
As a child, Lily Ashcroft used to hide candy under her pillow because she couldn't bring herself to tell her grandmother she didn't want it. Aiden sets a cup in front of her. Lily takes a sip. Her eyes widen. She takes a second sip. She sets the cup down. She looks at Aiden. She says quietly, "No sugar." Just the way she likes it. How does he know? Aiden shrugs. He says he's noticed how she leaves her dessert untouched on her plate every lunch. Lily is silent. Then she speaks even more quietly. "No one's ever noticed that before." She smiles. Not perfectly, not by the book. Crooked, with just one corner of her mouth. Like someone who's forgotten how to smile and is trying again. It's Lily Ashcroft's first real smile in 16 years. Aiden sees it and screams inside his head. No. Stop. Love alert. Cancel. He didn't press it. But it's too late. Lily is sitting in his office, drinking coffee. She's silent. And breathing. Just breathing. For the first time in a long time, without thinking about how to breathe properly. She comes the next day. And the next. And every time she sits in the same chair. And every time she's silent. And Aiden is silent beside her. Two people in a small room. Silence. Coffee. A rosehip branch. That's enough. The prince, through Viscount Darrell, had the office sealed off, but Lady Martha wrote a scientific report that lifted the ban. The coffee business with Noah is growing. Lily finally came into the office, smiled genuinely for the first time, and began coming every day, sitting silently next to Aiden. The 60th day. 2 months of the season are behind them. The third is beginning. The selection ball is 30 days away. The academy is holding its breath in anticipation. Prince Kalen must announce his choice. One of the 5. That is what tradition demands. That is what is written in the canon. That is how it must be. But the canon has been broken. The 5 girls are not looking at the prince with adoration. They are looking past him. Toward the east wing. Toward the gray radiance and the smell of coffee. The prince knows. He's not stupid. He sees. And he begins to act. Not through bureaucracy. Directly. The 61st day. Morning. Aiden walks down the hallway toward his office. A group of students comes toward him. 5 people, all from the highest ranks. All with bright glows. They stop in front of him. The eldest says that Baron Graves has been challenged to a practice duel. According to tradition, any student can challenge another to test their fencing skills. Refusal is impossible. It is considered cowardice. It invites public censure. Aiden looks at them. 5 burly young men with rapiers, against a single scrawny baron with a gray radiance. A classic scenario. He knows that direct combat means certain death. His body is weak. He has never held a rapier. The original Baron Graves never. The 3 lines on his wiki didn't mention any combat skills. Aiden says he accepts the challenge. Tomorrow, at noon, the training hall. The students exchange glances. They didn't expect him to agree. They leave. Aiden goes to his office. He sits down. He thinks. He has no plan. For the first time ever, he has absolutely no plan. His knowledge of the game is useless. His physical strength is 0. His magic is gray and useless. What does he have? People. That evening, he tells Noah. Noah thinks it over. He says that according to the rules of a training duel, every student has the right to a second. A second doesn't fight, but stands by. And if the duelist is wounded, the second can stop the fight. Aiden asks who will be his second. Noah says, me. Aiden shakes his head. If Noah stands beside him against the prince's men, he'll lose everything. His friendship with Kalen, his status, his position. 4 years of a carefully constructed life. Noah says he knows, and that he doesn't care. Because for 4 years, he was the prince's shadow, and a shadow doesn't choose where to fall. Now he chooses for himself.
Day 62, noon, the training hall. Stone walls, tall windows, racks of weapons. Spectators on the benches, lots of them. Word has spread. Everyone wants to see the gray radiance humiliated. Aiden stands on the platform in his training uniform, a rapier in his hand. It's harder than he thought. Opposite him stands the first duelist, Viscount Darrell, the very one, the prince's friend. Tall, broad-shouldered, the blue radiance pulses around the blade. Noah stands next to Aiden, arms crossed over his chest, his face calm. The referee gives the signal. Darrell attacks, fast, precise. The blade flies toward Aiden's shoulder. Aiden can't react in time. The strike goes through.
The rapier hits his protective jacket. It hurts. Not fatal. Training rapiers are blunt, but there'll be a bruise. A second strike, to the side. Aiden tries to parry. He can't. His arm is too weak. Darrell's blade knocks his foil aside. A third strike to the other side. A fourth to the arm. Aiden drops his foil. Darrell stands over him, smiling. The hall laughs. Gray radiance, a weakling, just as expected. Aiden picks up his foil. He stands up. He takes his stance. Again. Darrell attacks. Again. Same result. The foil is on the floor. Pain in his arm. Laughter in the hall. Aiden picks up his foil. He stands up. Again. Darrell stops smiling. He strikes harder. Aiden falls. He gets up. He falls. He gets up. 7 times. He can't win. It's obvious. His body isn't built for combat. His radiance doesn't give him strength. He loses every exchange of blows. But he gets back up. Every time. Silently. Without a groan. Without complaint. He picks up his rapier. Takes his stance. On the 8th time, Darrell stops. He looks at Aiden. The laughter in the hall dies down. Because it's not funny anymore. The battered Baron, with bruises on his arms, stands before the best fencer in the class and refuses to give up. Not because he's brave, not because he's strong, because giving up is not an option. He knows that, and he does the only thing he can. He stands his ground. Darrell lowers his rapier. He declares the duel over. The Baron has lost. Technically, he's right. Aiden hasn't landed a single blow. But the hall is silent. And in that silence, Aiden hears footsteps. Celeste Morgan climbs onto the bench. She stands up. She walks to the piste. She takes a rapier from the rack. She speaks in a steady voice. She challenges Viscount Darrell to a duel. By the same right. By the same tradition. Right now. The hall falls silent. The general's daughter. The academy's best fencer. Everyone knows that. In the game's canon, Celeste defeated the prince himself in a training bout. That was her only scene where she was herself. Darrell turns pale, but he cannot refuse. The same rules apply. Celeste steps up to face him. A black glow flares around the blade. Not icy. Alive. Hot. Fierce. 3 seconds. 3 strikes. Darrell's rapier lies on the floor. Celeste stands over him. Her face is calm. Her voice is steady. She says that if anyone else wants a practice duel with Baron Graves, they'll have to get past her first. The hall falls silent. Celeste places her rapier on the rack. She walks over to Aiden. She looks at his hands. Bruises. Scrapes. His fingers are swollen. She doesn't touch him. She doesn't comfort him. She doesn't pity him. She says only one thing, nothing more. That means no one else will lay a hand on him. She turns and walks away. But Aiden sees it. As she walked away from him, her right hand trembled slightly. Not from the exertion of the fight. 3 blows are nothing to her. She was trembling from something else. Aiden goes to the study. Yuna is already there. With cold water and a clean cloth, she bandages his hands. Silently. Carefully. Her fingers are rough and warm. Meyer arrives an hour later. She sits down. Doesn't say a word, just sits beside him.
Ariel arrives another hour later. She brings her list. Number 14. When friends show up uninvited. She finishes writing it right in front of him. In the evening, Lily arrives. She sits down in her chair. She's silent. Then she says one sentence. She should have been there. Aiden shakes his head. He says it's not necessary. Lily says it is necessary, that she was standing in the hallway and heard everything and didn't come in because she was scared. The Count's daughter was too scared to walk into the gym and stand next to a skinny Baron. She says this to herself, not to him, like an accusation. Aiden pours her some coffee, no sugar. He sets it down beside her. He says it's normal to be afraid, that bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's when you come back afterward, with coffee. Lily looks at the cup. She takes it, she drinks, and she stays until nightfall. The prince organized a practice duel to humiliate Aiden. Aiden lost but got back up 8 times in a row. Celeste came to his defense and defeated Daryl in 3 strikes, declaring herself his shield. All 5 of them went to the office afterward, and Lily admitted that she had been standing in the hallway and hadn't dared to enter the hall. The 7th, 10th day. 10 days until the selection ball. The academy is turning into a hive of activity. Tailors, florists, musicians. The palace staff is preparing the grand hall. Chandeliers are being cleaned. Floors are being polished. Stained glass windows are being washed. White lilies are being delivered by cart. Aiden watches the preparations from his office window and thinks that in 10 days it will all be over. The prince will choose. Or he won't. The season will end. The students will go their separate ways. The study will be empty. The cups will remain on the shelf. And he'll have to decide what to do next. But first, he needs to figure out what to do about what's down there. The voices under the floor of his room haven't stopped for the past 2 weeks. They've grown louder, more insistent. At night, he can make out dozens of individual voices. They're talking to each other, arguing. They cry. They get angry. And more often, they say one name. His. Aiden Graves. Or Thomas Graves. They get them mixed up. To them, it's the same person. The man who was supposed to disappear and didn't. Day 71. Night. Aiden isn't sleeping. He lies there and listens. The voices are louder than ever. They aren't just whispering, they're calling out. Come to us. Come down. We're waiting. You're one of us. Aiden gets up. He takes a candle. He takes the key to the basement storage room. And he takes a thermos of coffee. A big one. The one Bert made from a tin can lined with fabric to keep the heat in. Full. Hot. And 6 cups. He walks through the dark corridors. The academy is different at night. The shadows are thicker. The walls feel closer. The sounds are sharper. Every step echoes. He goes down to the basement storage room, opens the door, steps inside, closes it behind him, and keeps going. Past the shelves of books, past the diaries, toward the far wall, where there was a shadow last time. There's a door there. He hadn't seen it before. Old, wooden, no handle. It just sits in the wall, as if it had always been there, or as if it had just appeared. Aiden pushes it. The door opens. Behind it is a staircase leading down. Narrow. Stone. Darker than the basement. A candle lights up the 3 steps ahead. Beyond that, darkness. He descends. 20 steps. 30. 40. The air grows cold. Thick. Gray. Not dark. Gray. As if the air itself has a color. The color of the doomed. The staircase ends. Aiden stands in a hall. A large, round hall. The ceiling is lost in the grayness. The walls shimmer with a dim light. And there they are. Shadows. Dozens of them. Gray, faceless silhouettes. They stand. They sit. They lie down. Some are moving. Some are motionless. They're all looking at him. if they have eyes. Whispers fill the hall. Dozens of voices. You've come. Finally. We've been waiting. Why did it take so long? You're one of us. You belong with us. Aiden sets a candle on the floor. He places a thermos next to it. He sets out 6 cups. He opens the thermos. He pours. Slowly. Carefully. The smell of coffee rises and spreads through the room. The shadows freeze. The whispers die down. They don't recognize this smell. In their time, there was no coffee. In their stories, there was no small office in the East Wing. There were no cups with cracks. There was no barista from another world. Aiden takes the first cup. He sets it on the floor in front of the nearest shadow. He says, "This is for you." The shadow doesn't move. The second cup, in front of the second shadow. "This is for you." The third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth. 6 cups on the stone floor in front of 6 shadows. The others watch. Aiden sits down on the floor in the middle of the hall. He crosses his legs. He looks at the shadows. He says, he knows who they are. They're students, servants, maids, grooms, librarians, people the world has forgotten, who've been cut from the story, who've vanished because no one ever spoke their names. He knows because he's read their diaries, every single one, right down to the last page. A figure emerges from the gray, larger than the others, not a silhouette, but almost a shape, almost a face. A deep voice. You've read them, but you don't understand. We don't want coffee. We want to go back. We want to exist. We want to be seen, just as you are seen. You've stolen what belongs to us. Every time you save someone new who's invisible, you prove that it's possible, that the invisible can become visible. But we're here. We're down below. We're waiting. Why do you save them and not us? Aiden listens. He doesn't interrupt. Then he speaks. Because he doesn't know how. He's not a wizard. He's not a hero. He's not a prince with a golden glow. He's a barista. He knows how to do only one thing. Make coffee for a specific person. He can't save everyone. He can only pour 1 cup at a time. The gray one is silent for a long time. Then he speaks more quietly. That's not fair. Aiden replies, I know. Silence. Then a hand reaches out from the gray. Gray, translucent. It reaches for the cup on the floor. It touches it. The fingers pass right through the porcelain. They can't grasp it. The hand snaps back. A voice. We can't. We can't even do that. Aiden watches. Then he picks up the cup, brings it to the gray hand, tilts it. Coffee pours out. It flows through the gray fingers, falls onto the stone. But just for a second. For 1 second. The gray fingers darken. They become denser, almost real. And Aiden sees a young face, freckles, frightened eyes, a boy, maybe 15, maybe 16, a kitchen helper. He disappeared 20 years ago. His diary was the 3rd one. He wanted to be a chef. The second ends. The face fades. The gray returns. But something changes in the room. The whispers take on a different tone. Not angry, not demanding. Sad. They saw that the coffee works. For a second. For a single second, it gave one of them back his face. It's not enough. But it's better than nothing. Aiden speaks into the gray. He won't leave. He'll keep coming. With coffee. Every night if he has to. 1 cup at a time. 1 second at a time. Until he finds a way to make it permanent. The gray figure is silent for a long time. Then he speaks. We'll wait. But not forever. Aiden gets up, gathers the cups, climbs the stairs, closes the door, leaves the vault. He walks to his room. It's quiet under the floor. Quiet for the first time in 2 weeks. He set a condition for them, and they accepted it, temporarily. The clock ticks. The 75th day. 5 days until the selection ball. Aiden hasn't slept for the 3rd night in a row. During the day, the study, coffee, people. At night, the basement, coffee, shadows. He goes there every night, just as he promised. He pours. He brings it to the gray hands. A face appears for a second, a name, a story, and then it vanishes. Every night, one face, one name, 1 second. Not enough, but the shadows are waiting. While they wait. Day 76, morning. Aiden stands in front of the mirror in his room. His face is gray. Not from the radiance, from exhaustion. Bags under his eyes. His cheekbones are sharper. He's losing weight. He isn't eating properly. He isn't sleeping properly. He's splitting himself in two. Upstairs for the living, downstairs for the forgotten. Meyer is the first to notice.
She comes into his office outside of her scheduled time. She sits down. She looks at him. She says he looks just like she did 2 months ago, when she was sleeping only 5 hours a day. Aiden replies that he's fine. Mir says that's exactly what she said 2 months ago, and that back then, someone gave her chamomile with honey and told her she had the right to sleep. Aiden is silent. Mir pulls a small bundle out of her pocket. Dried chamomile, honey in a jar, a pinch of nutmeg in a paper bag. She sets it down in front of him. She says, "This isn't so he can work better. It's so he can sleep. He has the right to sleep." Aiden looks at the bundle, his own recipe, his own words. They've come back to him. He takes the bundle. He thanks her. He doesn't brew it. At night, he's back in the basement. Day 77, 4 days until the prom. Aiden sits in the basement room amid the shadows and thinks. The coffee works. For a second. 1 second of reality per cup. To bring back 43 shadows, he needs 43 seconds. But a second isn't a life. A second is a flash. They need more. They need someone upstairs to remember their names, to say their names, to see them, just as Aiden sees Yuna, Bert, and Lady Martha. The invisible become visible when someone looks at them. That's the key, not the coffee. The coffee only opens the door for a second. To keep the door stay open, you need people upstairs who will remember. Aiden goes upstairs. He walks into the study. He sits down at the desk. He takes a sheet of paper, a pen, ink, and he begins to write. 43 names, 43 stories, short ones, 1 paragraph each. Who they were, what they wanted, what they loved, how they disappeared. He draws from the diaries, from the notes, from the fleeting glimpses he saw in the basement. Thomas Graves, the Baron, wanted to be noticed, disappeared 5 years ago, left a diary, called for Aiden. Mark Stone, assistant cook, 15 years old. He wanted to become a chef. He loved a freckled girl from the village. He disappeared 20 years ago. Alice Rain, a maid, 22 years old. She wanted to move to the seaside. She disappeared 18 years ago. 43 paragraphs, 43 lives. At dawn, he finishes, 8 pages in small handwriting. He rereads them, folds them up, takes them to the library. Lady Martha hasn't arrived yet. He waits. She arrives at 7. She sees him. She sees the pages. She sits down. She reads. Silently. For a long time. She takes off her glasses. Wipes them. Puts them back on. Her eyes are red. She says it needs to be preserved. Aiden says more is needed. People need to read it. These names need to be spoken aloud. Lady Martha thinks. Then she says, "An academic wall of remembrance. In the main hallway, where the portraits of distinguished alumni hang. A list can be hung next to them. Names. Dates. No portraits. Just names. That will be enough. Everyone who walks by will read them. Everyone who reads them will say them to themselves. Every name spoken is a second of existence for the one who has disappeared."
Aiden says the prince won't allow it. Lady Martha smiles. She says the Wall of Remembrance isn't under the prince's jurisdiction. It's under the library's jurisdiction. Paragraph 9. Archival materials and memorial documents are approved by the head librarian, without consultation with the crown. She signs it. That very day, the 78th day, 3 days before the ball. In the morning, Aiden hangs 8 pages in frames on the wall of the main corridor,
Next to the portraits of the golden graduates.
next to the heroes, generals, and ministers. 8 pages with the names of those who have been forgotten. Small handwriting, simple frames, no gold, no monograms. Students walk by. They stop. They read. They whisper the names. Mark Stone, Alice Rain, Thomas Graves. The names echo through the hallway, quietly, hesitantly, but they ring out. In the evening, Aiden goes down to the basement. The shadows are different, lighter. Some are almost transparent, as if they're dissolving not into grayness but into light. Gray stands in the center. His voice is quieter, calmer. He speaks. They're saying our names. Upstairs. They're reading us. We can hear. Aiden nods. Gray speaks. This won't be enough to return fully, but it'll be enough to leave. Not into the gray, into peace. We've waited too long. We're tired. We want to let go. But on one condition. Aiden asks. Gray says, the ball of choice. We want to be there, for 1 minute, for 1 second. We want to be seen, not as shadows, as who we used to be. Aiden closes his eyes, opens them, says, I promise. Day 79. 2 days until the ball. Aiden gathers the team. Everyone. In the office.
Noah, Yuna, Bert, Lady Martha, Meyer, Ariel, Lily, Celeste. 8 people. He tells them everything. About the basement, about the shadows, about the 43 who disappeared, about the gray one, about the diaries, about the coffee that brings a face back for a second, about the promise. Silence. A long one. Then Yuna speaks softly. She knew. Not about the basement, about the disappearances. When she came to the academy 8 years ago, they told her, don't go into the basements, don't listen to the whispers, don't ask about those who aren't on the lists. She nodded. She stayed silent. She didn't ask, like everyone else. Bert says he knew too. The stable hands saw shadows in the courtyard at night, but they kept quiet. Lady Martha takes off her glasses. She says she's kept the diaries for 20 years. She was waiting for someone to read them. Meyer stands up. She says that as head girl, she's obligated to report this. Everyone looks at her. Meyer speaks. To report that there will be additional guests at the ball of choice, and that they need to reserve a spot for them. Ariel takes out her list. She adds to it. Number 15. When it's scary, but we're all together. Lily is silent. Then she says she won't be dancing, but she'll stand nearby. That's enough. Celeste says nothing. She simply takes a rapier from the wall and places it next to her, just in case. Aiden wrote 43 stories of the missing and hung them on the wall of remembrance in the main corridor. The shadows heard their names and asked for one thing, to be at the ball of choice. Aiden told the whole team, and everyone agreed to help, including Maria, who reserved a spot for the ghostly guests. The 80th day, the ball of choice. Evening. Rain. Heavy autumn rain pounding against the stained glass windows of the great hall, turning them into blurry patches of color. Inside, 1,000 candles. The chandeliers are lit. The marble floor gleams. White lilies in every vase. The orchestra is tuning their instruments. The nobles enter in pairs. Dresses, uniforms, the lights twinkle. Gold, silver, blue. The hall fills with light and whispers. Aiden stands by the far wall. He's wearing his dress uniform, that very shirt with the cut-off hem. Yuna sewed the edge so neatly that it's invisible. In his pocket is the key to the basement. In his hands, a thermos. Large, full, hot. Next to it is a cart, a mill, cups,
Not 6, 50. Yuna made arrangements with the kitchen. Bert brought them from the market. Lady Martha counted them. 50 cups for 50 people, both the living and the dead. Prince Kalen enters last. The golden radiance fills the hall. He is handsome, flawless, a crown on his head, a mantle on his shoulders. He walks toward the throne in the center of the hall. He sits down. He surveys the assembly. Today he must choose one of the 5. Tradition demands it. The law requires it. It has been this way for 300 years. The orchestra plays. The first dance. The prince stands up. He walks toward Lily. He extends his hand. Lily looks at his hand, then at him, then across the entire hall at Aiden by the far wall. She takes the prince's hand. She dances, correctly, beautiful, just as they were taught. The prince leads. Lily follows. But something is wrong. The prince senses it. Her hand in his doesn't tremble. It doesn't grow warm. It doesn't squeeze back. It just lies there, like an object, not like the hand of a living person. The dance ends. The prince lets go of Lily.
The second dance is with Celeste. The third with Ariel. The fourth with Mireille. The fifth with the duke's daughter, who has come from the eastern province. Every dance is done correctly. Every dance is empty. The prince returns to the throne. The hall waits. Now he must stand up, say the name, announce his choice. The prince stands up, opens his mouth, and at that moment, the candles go out. All of them, all at once. 1,000 lights go out as if on command. The hall is plunged into darkness. Someone cries out. Someone grabs hold of their neighbor. Noise, panic. But it lasts only 3 seconds, because a light appears in the darkness. Gray, dim, flickering. It comes from below, from the floor, from the walls, from the stone itself. And with it, they come. Shadows, one after another. They rise through the floor like smoke, gray silhouettes, dozens, 43. They stand among the living. They take the empty seats. They stand by the walls. They sit on empty chairs. The room falls silent. No one screams, because the shadows aren't scary. They're sad. Gray, faceless figures. They stand and watch, like guests who weren't invited but came anyway, because this is their home too. Aiden steps out of the shadows by the wall. He picks up the thermos, walks over to the cart, and begins to brew, in complete silence, in the gray light. The crunch of beans in the grinder, the smell of coffee. He pours the first cup, carries it to the nearest shadow. He tilts the cup toward the gray hands. The coffee touches ghostly fingers, and for a second, a face. Young, freckles, frightened eyes. Mark Stone, the sous chef. The dining room sees it. Everyone sees it. A living boy emerges from the grayness for a second and vanishes. But they saw him. Aiden pours a second cup, a third, a fourth, 43 cups, 43 faces, 43 seconds. Each time the audience sees a living person for a second. And each time the audience says the name, quietly, hesitantly, but they say it. Because the names are written on the wall in the main hallway. They've read them. They remember them. On the 43rd cup, Aiden approaches the last shadow, the biggest one, gray, the collective echo of all the forgotten ones, the voice that spoke to him in the basement, the one that was angry, the one that waited. Aiden pours the last cup. He offers it. Gray doesn't reach out. He speaks.
"Who's this for?"
Aiden replies, "For you." Gray is silent. Then he says, "I have no face. I am not a person. I am all of them together, and no one." Aiden says, "It doesn't matter. You don't brew coffee for a face. You brew coffee for whoever is in front of you. whoever they may be. Gray reaches out his hands. The coffee touches them. And for a second, not a face. Light. Bright. Warm. Not gray. White. Like Lily's radiance, but different. Purer. Quieter. The light of all who were forgotten, gathered into a single flash. The hall squints, the light fades. The candles flare back to life, all 1,000 of them at once. The hall is once again bathed in golden light. The shadows have vanished, all 43 of them, but not into grayness, not into the basement, not into oblivion. They have dispersed, like fog at dawn. They're gone, at peace, because they were seen. They were called by name. They were remembered. That was enough. The hall is silent. For a minute. 2. Prince Kalen stands by the throne. His face is pale. His hands are clenched. He saw what everyone else saw. He saw the 43 people whom his world had crossed out,
whom his family, his kingdom, his tradition had erased from existence. Because their radiance was gray. Because they were unimportant, background figures, superfluous. The prince looks at Aiden. Aiden stands in the middle of the hall with an empty thermos, a gray radiance, dull. A skinny baron in a wrinkled uniform with a sewn-up hem, a man with 3 lines on his wiki page. The prince takes a step, then another. He walks toward Aiden. The hall watches. The prince stops in front of him. He is silent. Then he speaks softly, just to Aiden. He didn't know. About the shadows, about the basement, about those who were erased. He didn't know. Aiden replies just as softly. Now he knows. The prince nods. He turns to face the hall. He speaks loudly. The ball of choice is cancelled. He will not choose today. Not from among the 5. Not from anyone. Because before choosing whom to love, one must choose who to be. And he doesn't know yet. The hall buzzes, whispers, outrage, surprise. But the prince isn't listening. He turns to Aiden. He speaks. Black. No adornments, just as it is. Aiden looks at him. He understands. He nods. He pours the last drop from the thermos. Half a cup. It's cold now. He hands it to the prince. Kalen takes it. He drinks. To the bottom. He sets the cup on the cart. And leaves. Alone. Without his entourage. Without the crown, which he had removed and left on the throne. He simply walks away. The hall falls silent. Then Lily takes a step forward. Then Celeste. Ariel. Meyer. Yuna takes off her maid's apron and steps out of the servants' shadows. Bert enters through a side door. Lady Martha adjusts her glasses. Noah steps away from the wall. They all walk toward Aiden. Without coordinating, they just walk, because that's where they need to go. Aiden stands in the middle of the great hall of the Royal Academy for Noble Young Ladies. 9 people surround him. 5 heroines, 1 friend, 1 maid, 1 stable hand, 1 librarian. Rain beats against the stained glass windows. Candles burn. White lilies scent the air. But the smell of coffee is stronger. From an empty thermos, from empty cups. The scent that lingers after the coffee is gone. Warm. Bitter. Alive. Aiden looks at them. At each one. And he feels something that makes his chest tighten. Not a romantic flag. Not affection points. Not game mechanics. Just people who came. To him. Because they wanted to. He speaks softly. The study is open. The coffee really is gone. But there's chamomile tea. Mir is the first to laugh softly. Then Ariel. Then Yuna. They walk, all together, through the dark corridors, past the wall of remembrance where 43 names hang, past the library where the fresco of St. Elmira flickers in the light of a single candle,
Past the rug by the third bookshelf, which lies perfectly flat, just like on the first day. They enter the study, small, cramped, with a dusty harpsichord, curtains from Yuna, a shelf from Bert, and a drawing by Ariel on the wall. 10 people in a room meant for 5. Someone is sitting on a chair, someone on the windowsill, some on the floor. Aiden is brewing chamomile tea, with honey, with nutmeg, Grandma's recipe. He pours it into cups. Everyone has their own. Lily's without sugar, Celeste's with honey, Ariel's with cinnamon, Mir's decaf, Yuna's triple, Noah's is black, Bert's is just as it is. Lady Martha's has chamomile. He places the 9th cup on an empty chair in the corner, for Thomas Graves, for the original Baron, who called, who asked. Live for me. Just live in a way that gets you noticed. Aiden stands in the middle of his little kingdom. He looks at the people around him, at the cups in their hands, at the rain outside the window, at the candle illuminating the drawing on the wall. The door creaks. Everyone turns around. Prince Kalen stands in the doorway, soaked from the rain, without his cloak, without his crown, in a simple shirt. His hair is plastered to his forehead. The golden radiance has faded, not because it's gone, because he turned it off. For the first time in his life, he doesn't want to glow. He just wants to come in. Just sit down. Kalen stands in the doorway and says nothing. Then he speaks softly. Can he have some too? Aiden silently takes out the 10th cup. He pours. Black coffee. No frills. Kalen takes it. He sits on the floor by the wall. He drinks. He's silent. 10 people in the room. 15 cups on the shelf. 43 names on the wall in the hallway. 1 empty chair with tea growing cold. Rain taps against the window. A rosehip branch in a vase drops a petal. The candle crackles. Quiet. Warm. Just right. Aiden sits down in his chair at the table. He picks up his cup, number 11. He takes a sip. Chamomile with honey. Grandma's recipe. He closes his eyes. For a second, he's back in Seoul, behind the counter at the coffee shop. The bell on the door rings. A customer walks in. A typical day, but not just any day, because now he knows. Every customer who walked through that door was someone's whole world. Everyone for whom he brewed coffee in his past life wasn't just a background figure, not an extra, not a prop. A living person with a name and a dream. He just didn't notice it back then. Now he does. He opens his eyes. 10 faces are looking at him. They aren't waiting. They aren't demanding. They aren't adoring him. They're just looking. Like people who found a place where they're welcome. Aiden raises his cup. He speaks softly. For those who are remembered. 6 cups rise in response. Steam from the 11th cup on the empty chair curls in the candlelight. It's raining outside. Inside, it smells of chamomile and coffee. Silence. But not an empty silence, a full one. Like a cup filled to the brim. This isn't the end of the story, it's the beginning. In a year, Aiden will open a coffee shop in the capital. Lady Martha will work the register. Bert will deliver the beans. Yuna will become the manager. Noah will handle the bookkeeping. Mire will come by every evening after work at the ministry. Ariel will paint the sign and change it every month because she likes to paint. Celeste will come in silently, sit by the window, and drink coffee with honey. Lily will come in and sit quietly beside her. And breathe. Prince Kalen will be the rarest but most loyal visitor. Black and unadorned. Every time. But that's later. Right now, they're just sitting there. 10 people in a small room, drinking chamomile tea, listening to the rain. And none of them is superfluous.